Support independent media and leave the smoldering ruins of corporate idiocy behind with Second Wind logo products from DFTBA. Head on over to shop.secondwindgroup.com for shirts, stickers, and the satisfaction of helping sustain a worker-owned outlet. Plus, we've got cool bird merch, and everyone loves cool birds. Adventure is Nigh has a really big disc.
Big disc energy.
Well, an average-sized disc. I'm, of course, talking about the Adventure is Nigh Blu-ray discs. Season 1 and Season 2 of Adventure is Nigh are now available to own. That means you can watch the river crossing shenanigans of your favorite adventurers, even if there's no more internet. These blue discs include every episode of Season 1 and 2 beautifully remastered, Q&As, behind-the-scenes content, and a commentary track on every single episode. Honestly, we probably shouldn't have done that. We get sidetracked easily.
I don't know if you've seen The Substance.
I was going to say, I was waiting for a break so I could be like, let's talk about how they use nudity in The Substance.
Head on over to our DFTBA store to order your copy or go to adventureisnigh.horse. It's a real website.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rewind, episode number 44 for Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. Marty Sleeva here, joined by Darren Mooney, Jack Packard, and producer Eric. We got a nice loopy loop of a show for y'all today. As you see with our title story, we're talking about the new video game adaptation, Exit 8. Came out in, I believe it premiered at Con a year or two ago, came out in Japan last year, finally hit the West now. All three of us have seen it. Darren made a backdrop on it. And I think it's not a spoiler to say we all enjoyed it. And it does things in a really interesting way that feel very video gamey. So we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about some of the news stories that dropped out of CinemaCon last week. Jack, were you excited for CinemaCon announcements? You seem like a big CinemaCon fan.
When they announced their new film format of 48 FPS plus, I got very excited. It's a slightly wider than 16:9, but not quite 4:3. It's really, some big stuff came out.
You're all about Infinity Vision now. That's where you're at, right?
Listen, we've gone all in on Infinity Vision. My favorite thing, we'll get into CinemaCon in a bit. My favorite thing, though, is like 90% of CinemaCon is like for theater owners. And it's like, here's the next innovation in snacks. And you get to try a bunch of new snacks. And I'm like, well, I kind of want to go to that. Right. Like, I don't really care about a Doomsday trailer, but let me eat the snacks.
The big presentation. Because like, it wasn't the big thing. Did Marvel stream their session live this year? Which is a big violation of CinemaCon norms. It is like, we're moving away from Comic-Con and towards CinemaCon, which is an interesting cultural shift that is happening.
Yeah. We'll get right into that before we talk about Exit 8 and all the other stuff we've been watching. But CinemaCon is a thing that's been going on for a while now, but is slowly becoming, I guess, a bigger deal in that more people are live blogging it. But what it is it's in Vegas. It's a convention mostly for theater owners and franchisees, and it's
Greg Marcus is there.
Greg Marcus is abs. He gets there and like people crowd around him. You just see like a mass of people, and you're like, oh, Greg's at the middle of that.
For those of you who do not live in Wisconsin, I believe that he has some non-Wisconsin. We have a local large theater chain called Marcus Theaters, and Greg Marcus, the CEO of Marcus Cinemas, has like a little 30-second thing before every movie. And it's definitely like it's super cheesy. He knows it's cheesy. We know it's cheesy. We love every second of it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got like grandpa trying to be a little too fun vibes, which is endearing. Yeah, there he is.
There's Greg Marcus. Yeah, kind of like old like, mattress salesman. Like, come on down to Crazy Eddie's mattress. If you can out jump me on mattresses, I'll give you 20% off. He's got that vibe to him.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned mattress. I was thinking of Mattress Mick, the great Irish mattress salesman who has exactly the same energy.
He's just his Irish looper.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from CinemaCon having like, oh, here's the upcoming novelty popcorn buckets you can get for Dune 3 and for Mortal Kombat. They also each of the major studios kind of had a little presentation where they brought out some of the actors and directors of their upcoming movies, revealing some of their slate. Not going to go through all this because again, most of the stuff is not viewable online. Like a lot of these trailers haven't been shown, but a couple news bits that I thought would be particularly interesting to us. We talked about this a little bit on Firelink last week, but Jack, as our resident FromSoft head, news came out that Bloodborne is getting an R-rated animated film.
Yes,
from Sony, not from Sony Animation, from Sony, but also it is one of the producers is going to be the big YouTuber Jacksepticeye. Yes. Which is interesting because this is following up, obviously, in the shadow of last year. Or was that last year? Was that this year?
It was earlier this year. What even is?
Get the fuck out of here!
We're all in a blood submarine.
Get out of
here! It was
here!
pre-Mercy, though, is the important thing. It was PM pre-Mercy.
We'll get to AD and BC. We'll get to that. Don't you worry. I already saw one of those. It was pre-Mercy. I like that. So yeah, Jacksepticeye is producing this movie, not writing and directing and starring in it, much like Markiplier did, and is being handled by a relatively new studio that also produced How to Blow Up a Pipeline the other year, which I liked quite a bit. And so it feels like a weird, like, okay, I guess you could also do the Bloodborne movie. Jack, what's your immediate thought on an R-rated Bloodborne animated movie?
Okay, I hate to start the podcast on such a cynical thought, but my immediate thought is knowing how cheap animation studios have gone with their animation lately. I know we talk a lot about, or sometimes we talk about anime, how these seasons of One Punch Man have seemingly gotten cheaper and cheaper, even though it's an incredibly popular show. Delicious in Dungeon, an anime that we both really liked for Netflix, seems to cut away from someone's face whenever they're talking just to save those pennies on animation.
Yeah.
And with movies kind of doing what they're doing lately, if we're not going stylized or big and it's not like a huge property like Spider-Man, I just worry this is going to look like shit. No offense to like the Castlevania anime, which I thought looked good most of the time. Also just kind of looked janky some of the times.
Yeah.
And so my expectations are jank.
And as you're saying, it's not Sony Animation, it's Sony Pictures, right? It's the parent studio.
And it's this new studio, Lyrical Media is the company that produced like How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Lyrical Animation is a relatively new thing, and they're also doing one of the Death Stranding movies called Death Stranding Mosquito, which is an animated Death Stranding movie. Again, we have not seen that yet, so who knows what that is. And they're also getting into games as a game publisher. They're like publishing the next game from the Ghost Runner team. So it seems like at the very least they're not like half-assing video game stuff. Yeah. Like we don't know what this is going to look like, but
right.
They're also not like crawling or walking. They're going straight into sprinting and hoping it works out, which is ambitious.
which is absolutely ambitious. And then this, not at CinemaCon, but this came out yesterday. Speaking of FromSoft, piggybacking on a story from last week, the Elden Ring cast and release date for early 2028 has been revealed. A lot of those names we mentioned last week. Again, not too much. Peter Serafinowicz is going to be in it, which is great. He's like the world's #1 Dark Souls fan. He's in Dark Souls 2.
Peter Serafinowicz was such a big Dark Souls fan that he begged FromSoft to do a voice in Dark Souls 2. And rumor has it that he did his voices for Dark Souls 2 unpaid. He just wanted to be a part of it. So Peter Serafinowicz, for those who don't know, who aren't as big a Dark Souls 2 head as I am, plays Pate. In Dark Souls 2, kind of their version of Patches, the maybe untrustworthy, maybe trustworthy character, Pate. And so it's like seeing his name in the Elden Ring movie just gave me all my Dark Souls 2 goosebumps, where I was like, oh my God, is he going to play Patches? Is he going to play Pate? What's he going to do? Who cares?
Yeah, seems good.
Yeah, seems good. So very excited. I mean, like, and all the casting looks great. Darren, I think in our Slack channel, you mentioned they're like, oh, like Alex Garland is just working with all the people he likes working with, which makes me really happy.
Yeah. It's like, wow, he's hired a bunch of people that he would hire to work on a regular Alex Garland movie, which leads me to believe that he may treat this as a regular Alex Garland movie, which is kind of what I like. It's like the, is it Austin Abrams being cast in the Resident Evil movie by Zach Kreger, where it's like, that for me is like a vote of confidence, both in the actor and in the movie, where it's like, I'm going on to this other project. It'd be fun if you guys came with me, indicates that I'm going to have a good time doing this and I'm going to enjoy doing this. And I don't see this as like a work for hire between gigs thing, which is what you kind of want. It's great.
Yeah, it makes you think both parties enjoy working with each other, which, you know, that's doesn't make or break a movie, but that's sometimes a nice foundation to start things off on.
Also, real quick, someone in the chat says that Peter Serafinowicz is tick number 2, and I'm sorry, Peter Serafinowicz is tick number 3.
Wow.
Because you got to count the animated one, right?
If we could just...
I will not... You sound pretty ticked off, Jack.
I will not accept Townsend Coleman erasure.
Sure.
So
yeah, who would ever erase Townsend Coleman?
The phenomenal voice
names
actor
hanging out right there.
The phenomenal voice actor of the Tick the animated series, obviously Patrick Warburton in live action, and then Peter Serafinowicz. So settle down.
Maybe it was like a quality ranking. Maybe it was like a
could have been number 2.
Could have been number 2. Okay, all right. I'll accept the quality ranking. All right.
Take that, Patrick Warburton. Apparently,
Warburton.
Because it would be hilarious if Jack's like, "No, I respect the animated voice actor. He's awful, but I respect.
He's awful, but I have a ton of respect."
Yeah. Fair.
Probably the 2 biggest movies out of CinemaCon were a bunch of footage was shown from Dune 3 as well as Avengers Doomsday, which those movies, as of this date, still coming out on December 18th, which just feels insane to me. Why are these movies coming out on the same day?
It's so funny because it's not even like a Barbenheimer thing where the 2 movies are so opposite that there's kind of an interesting, like, a floor on, like, if one of them crashes and burns, where it's like, if Barbenheimer doesn't work, like, the film bros aren't going to see Barbie instead. They're going to Oppenheimer, and like the girls aren't going to see Oppenheimer. They're going to see Barbie. The problem with like Doomsday is that like the overlap of those audiences is surprisingly big, being kind of like young male film goers, and it's like, yeah, what does that seem like the kind of thing that people are going to want to do? I'm guessing 6.5 hours of probably, given the way these things are going.
God,
it's just, why doesn't one come out in November? You got a whole month. Just put it in November.
Or move it into the next year. I mean, again, the problem is that like Dune is not moving, and because Dune doesn't have to move. Dune will be fine because Dune is reasonably budgeted and campaigning for Oscars. Doomsday is the one that has to move because it wants the non-infinity format premium screens. But Doomsday can't move because it already moved, and if it moves again, it looks like a sign of weakness.
Fuck it, just move it to the middle. Move it to the middle of January, called Dumpsday. Avengers Dumpsday.
I mean, the real power move would be like 2 days from now to announce it's coming out on Friday. That would be like the real. Fuck you guys, we moved it.
That's why we fired all of our artists. We don't need artists. The movie's done.
They're done.
I would unironically love that if they're just like, fine, next week, go.
you win, internet. You win.
We're gonna replace all of these CG sequences with just voiceover explaining what's happening.
With still images.
1800s puppetry, shadow puppetry, like in the Mario movie.
Okay, I kind of like that. I kind of like
or
that.
like in Pizza Movie. Yeah.
I kind of like
Brilliant. Can we? I don't know if we've ever had and I don't want to turn this into a deep conversation, but like the collective.
Don't worry, we're incapable of that.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And then you immediately go to, I don't want to turn this into a deep conversation, but the collective zeitgeist, the gestalt, if you will.
The collective zeitgeist, like humanity, we are over novelty popcorn buckets, right? Just putting that out there.
If
like,
I'm being honest, I was over them before they existed. I don't want plastic tchotchkes in my house.
Like the Dune thing was funny because it looked like a fleshlight. Like, and we was like, okay, this is funny because it looks like you can fuck this thing, and unintentionally funny. There's like no one thought like that.
Denny Villeneuve wasn't making Dune Part 2 going, and Christopher Walken will be the Emperor, and I want the popcorn bucket to look like you can fuck it.
Exactly. And so like, but that was funny.
Fuck it, right? And fuck it, right?
And then the bucket fuck it. The fuck it bucket. That's how it works. and so like, but then like TheaterCon people, like they were scheming ways to make the next funny popcorn bucket, and that's the new thing. And as soon as they were scheming, we were over it. I'm just putting that out there. That we're all over it. These are like Funko Pops. If you know someone who collects these things, they have a problem.
It's very similar to, again, to bring it back to the Barbenheimer type situation. That happens by accident, and it's a wonderful coincidence that it happens. When I say it happens by accident, it happens because Warner Brothers get really ticked that like Nolan left them, and they will grind him into the dust, even if it costs them their premium female auteur, god damn it. But it doesn't happen because two studios are like, we should do this and it'll be fun. And so every subsequent attempt to do that with like Saw's Day, wasn't that or was it like Saw Patrol?
Oh, it was Paw Patrol. It's the latest Saw movie.
What?
Yeah. Every attempt to manufacture one doesn't work because it has to be genuine or authentic, and you can't replicate that or manufacture that in a focus group in the same way with the popcorn bucket. You can't intentionally create the fucking bucket.
It's all sort of accidental. Like it all kind of just like materializes. As soon as you start trying, it fails. I did see. I put this on this Reddit link to speaking of CinemaCon, the popcorn buckets for Masters of the Universe. It is a giant sword that you drink your beverage out of, and then a large Castle Grayskull that you eat your popcorn out of. Castle Grayskull looks like the size of the toy from the 80s. And so I don't know like where this goes during the movie.
You just put it on your lap.
On your lap? Is this on the floor? Is like someone gonna trip on it if they have to go to the bathroom?
That's a terrible idea.
Can I make an infamously Darren like terrible prediction that will date horribly along with like in the like Craven the Hunter could secretly be good drum I was beating for several months before that happened.
Yes.
Could the He-Man movie be good?
Listen, I'm on team He-Man's gonna be good because I just don't have a lot going on.
but like it's director trap, and when I say good, I mean like ceiling of like 3 stars, but an enjoyable like 3 stars.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I had a good time at the pictures because it's Travis Knight, the guy who did like Bumblebee and the guy who did like a lot of those Leica animations.
Bumblebee's good.
Bumblebee's good.
Bumblebee is the best Transformers film. It's the best live action, but it's also the only good one.
Oh, there it is. Oh, correct.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think there's a non-zero chance this could be good.
Yeah.
I mean, we said that about Craven, though, which
we did.
You were mistaken.
So, and I accept that. I wear that every day, Marty. I get up in the morning, I look in the mirror, and I say, "You thought Craven could be good."
My other hot take is the Street Fighter movie is going to be good.
That is a hotter take, but I respect it.
I think the Street Fighter movie is going to be good. He beats up a car at one point. That seems fun.
That's fun. By the way, like I don't think it's crazy, and I know like people say we hate fun all the time, and we even though like however many times we say it, I feel like we need to say it more, which is we want every movie to be good. It would be a joy and a privilege to go out every weekend and say, man, I saw another good movie. What a great life this is. Let's just discuss how this movie is a different good than the last good movie I saw last weekend. That would be a phenomenal life. And so, of course, we want Craven to be good. We want Masters of the Universe to be good. I think Masters of the Universe has a higher likelihood of being good based on who is making it. And I also think that Masters of the Universe is farther away from nostalgia, where they do get to play with it more.
Sure. Yeah, nothing about Masters of the Universe is like modern, whereas this other stuff still has modern incarnations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The other bit, I know, Jack, you're not thrilled about Avengers Endgame re-releasing in theaters in September with additional footage to lean into Doomsday, but also in Infinity Vision. I don't know if you've heard about Infinity Vision.
I don't know what Infinity Vision, and I hate it already.
They can't, since it's coming out the same day as Dune, and Dune has all the IMAX screens.
Yeah.
Disney has to be like, well, we don't need IMAX because we have Infinity Vision, which doesn't feel like it's a thing. It feels like a thing on 30 Rock that like Alec Baldwin would pitch to Tina Fey as like a goof. Yeah, do you know what's going on here, Darren?
I believe, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe the logic is that they're going to certify certain screens that are larger than specific dimensions as being Infinity Vision. So they will not be like IMAX or 4DX screens or premium format screens, but they will be screens that would be big enough that they could look like IMAX screens, what we might traditionally describe as LIMAX screens or whatever. I do also believe there is a plan to introduce a surcharge or to encourage a surcharge through that, because of course premium format screens are not just like a nice, oh, we've got a dick wagging competition. They are like 30% of the income for a lot of these movies, particularly in the opening weekend. So I do believe that like that is what Infinity Vision is. They are going to certify these screens that are not IMAX, because IMAX have promised all their screens to Dune. They're going to certify them as Infinity Vision and then charge you more to go see the movie in them. What a world.
What other way
time to be alive.
You need Infinity Vision in order to be able to see all of those actors who were not filming together in the same room. All of those actors who were not a part of the same fight scene, and Alan Cumming, who's like, I'm not sure who I was fighting. I was kicking the air, and I'm sure they'll put someone on the other end of that.
Not like a load-bearing observation, but an observation to make nonetheless, is like, they're not calling it multiverse vision. They're calling it Infinity Vision. The Infinity Saga of the Marvel Cinematic Universe wrapped up 7 years ago now.
Yeah,
and this, like the re-release of Endgame, and the bringing back of the Russos, and the bringing back of, obviously, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., very much feels to me like, hey, you guys remember when you liked us, right? You guys remember when the brand was excessively profitable, right?
Yes, we remember when you said it was over. We liked it when you said it was over. Remember that part?
You called the movie Endgame, and now you're re-releasing it as a prelude to 2 more movies.
It's big, like going to your 10-year reunion, and all you're doing is talking about like high school, and you're like, well, has anything else happened since then? Oh, remember the homecoming game?
Like, no. What have you been doing with your goddamn life? No, and the joke I made
even sounds better, to be fair. Like, call it Multivision.
Ooh, Multivision, yeah. To me, like obviously like charging more for the same screens that you're watching it on that's normal bullshit, but re-releasing it with a director's cut basically right before, but not even a director's cut. They are adding story critical things to the movie, which seems like cheating. It just seems like I'm trying to think of like a DLC equivalent. Like
it
Cats, feels
where they kept like adding material to Cats, like replacing Judi Dench's hand or whatever.
It just feels the shysteriest of them all. You want to charge me more because I'm watching it in Infinity Vision? Okay, that's some bullshit. You want to charge me more because your popcorn bucket looks like I can fuck a fistful of stones? Great. Thanos is giving me a handy, so I got to pay extra for popcorn buckets. Fine.
Does the hand, is it the gauntlet hand or the fleshy hand? That's the question. Do you have to pay more for like the fleshy hand?
No, you have to pay more for the gauntlet
the shave.
hand.
Okay, all right.
It's like one of those. It's like one of those pens that has like the 4 different colored inks you could put down, but every Infinity Stone does something different.
And
so yeah,
and
in conclusion,
how much are we gonna
CinemaCon
how
was
much
great.
are we gonna bet that the stuff that they add is under 3 minutes of screen time? Under 2
I mean, it might
minutes
just
of
be a
screen time?
post-credit scene.
Post-credit
'cause
scene.
Endgame didn't have a post-credit scene, so it just might be like a sizzle reel trailer kind of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it gonna be a trailer? Like that's the real kicker here. We're adding footage to it, is what you say at CinemaCon, and it's like you go to it, and it's like the credits roll, and they just show you a trailer for the movie that you are going to see anyway. Because if you paid to see Endgame, you are probably going to pay to see Doomsday.
At least have the courtesy to do the Nolan thing where you show the IMAX trailer before the movie, and then I could choose to leave the movie if I don't want to see the rest of the movie. I was just here for the Odyssey for 5 minutes of the Odyssey. I had no intention of watching the rest of the movie. Cool. Before we jump over to Exit 8, let's go over some super chats. Thank you so much to folks who've already donated, starting with Quintuple with a $5 dono. Darren, to prep for the upcoming Street Fighter movie, please enter and win Evo in dramatic fashion if possible. Thanks for advance. This is the problem. You wrote about Exit 8, you saw Exit 8, and you're like, I'm going to play Exit 8, which is very doable because it's a very short game. But now you're just building, now you're going to do Platinum Elden Ring. Jack will be the judge of if you're ready to see the Elden Ring movie yet.
I like that. I'll go to the cinema and I'll text Jack, and I won't get a reply, and I'll have to walk home, and then he'll be like, "Sorry, I was sleeping."
I was sleeping. That's how time works.
I won't be sleeping. I'll just be playing more Elden Ring. I am like, okay, so I've played a lot of Elden Ring. I am currently every other Tuesday. I'm streaming Elden Ring right now with Jenna Stieber, and I have started a new play at home, just farting around. This will be probably the 20th time I have played Elden Ring. I have over 600 hours into it. It is a ridiculous game.
It's Infinite Ring, yes.
It's just yeah. And so yeah, Darren, I will judge your playthrough of Elden Ring. Is all I'm saying.
Well, that's great, Jack, because I have no plans to play through Elden Ring, so I am immune to your judgment. I do want to shout out the comment there, being very polite and saying, "Win in a dramatic fashion if possible," as if to say, look. We all know you're going to enter this fighting tournament, you who've never played a video game, and we all know that you're going to win. But if you're feeling a little bit feisty, could you make it dramatic?
Could you make it close? Could you make it like the ending of that movie, Wizard? About the kid who was really good at Nintendo and had to go to the Mario tournament.
Yeah, we want like a Marty Supreme type moment. We want a moment where like you break kayfabe and in front of everybody declare it's a scheme, it's a fake. Do you want to see me battle roy you for real?
Yes.
Miyamoto walks up to you and tells you he's a 600-year-old vampire. Like, I wasn't expecting this. Nick Knoll with a $5 dono. Thank you so much, Nick Knoll. Do you guys ever miss working in person? I've been fully remote for 7 years, which is great, but sometimes I miss the energy of a busy office. But I partly miss the energy of an office. Yeah, absolutely. Like I could feel there was a different energy when we were all in person filming Avengers Night, and there's just certain things that would work in person that wouldn't work or would work better in person. But there's also plenty of good things about that.
Even doing the podcasts in kind of in person or whatnot, like there's definitely a different energy to it. That being said, I'm going to say 80% of our work is just done alone anyway, of like editing videos, playing video games, to talk about video games, watching movies. So I think for the vast majority of our work, working in an office would make things more difficult. But if
it would also
were
be very tough, to be honest, I'm going to be frank here.
You would have to commute, once every other week. You gotta fly.
Once every other week. We got to fly Darren to Wisconsin. No, like obviously there's some huge benefits, and I do think, much like my love for seeing a movie with an audience, I think there is some energy that goes in actually being next to a person, and especially working in the creative field, it would be incredibly helpful and just incredibly not feasible.
Yep.
So,
I mean, even recording podcasts like with the other podcast I do, the 250 with Andrew, like it's a different energy being in the same space with a person. Like, and it's easier to read signals, and you get less crosstalk because it's easier to read when the other person is finishing and when you can start and that sort of stuff, which is very interesting. And it's also a lot easier to read body language as well, which is kind of makes it, I don't know what Jack's hands are doing when I'm talking. I don't know how hard he's
playing with the rock.
To the audio listeners out there, he was playing with rock. He was absolutely just playing with rock. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, before starting at The Escapist, I'd been podcasting for like 8 or 9 years, but always in person. And so I just had to get like everyone, I guess, during COVID, just had to get used to doing things through screens.
Yeah.
But yeah, we manage. Mop Man with a $5 dono. Thank you so much, Mop Man. With the mention of Dan Olson, anybody watch? Which you mentioned Dan Olson, Darren, in your video today. Great YouTube essayist. With the mention of Dan Olson, anybody watch the latest episode on Mr. Beast and the Beast Game specifically? It's a show, so it's even on topic. I have that in my queue. I have not watched it. It came out last weekend, and it's like 90 minutes long, so it's like a whole ass movie. But yeah, pretty much. I think the thesis of the essay is Dan Olson got invited to Beast Games, and his thing is pretty much like, why was I invited?
Yeah. It's a very good video essay. I did watch it because I'm quite Olson's one of the video essayists that I do follow. And yeah, it is basically Beast Games reached out to roughly 30 YouTubers and flew them all out to the production of Beast Games. And the whole thing is like, why did they do that? Because like it wasn't to generate content, because Beast Games didn't generate content using those YouTubers, and there was no expectation. It was very explicit that there was no expectation that they create content based on their trip to Beast Games. So like Olson's big thing is just trying to figure out why, like what logical reason could you have had for inviting 30 of us, including Olson himself, by his own admission, the line goes up guy, the guy who like whose role on YouTube is to be the Mr. No Fun guy. As you can see in the photo, like there are several really great photos from the trip where like all the other YouTubers, however cynical they may be about the Mr. Beast experience, are at least like smiling and having fun. And there's the photo right there. If you can zoom in on Dan Olson in the corner there, all the other YouTubers in that photo are smiling. Olson is polite to be. He's being polite, is how I would describe it there. And there are several moments in the video where like he'll point to other YouTubers who did cover the trip, and they'll be like, "Well, most of us were generally quite happy to be there." And Olson will go, "I'll raise my hand here. I was the one who wasn't." But like, so there is this big interesting thing of like, why would you invite all these YouTubers? Why would you invite Olson in particular? It's a very good video essay in the way that Olson's video essays tend to be, where it begins with a simple question. Oh, hey, there's Doug. And then it circles back around to actually presenting a thesis statement of how he understands the thing that he's discussing in a very clever, insightful way. I think it's a very good video essay. He's one of the Channel Awesome guys. Doug Walker, I believe his name is.
Dog
used to
Walker?
work with us. Doug. I said Doug. You repeated.
But it's weird that his name's Doug Walker, because that sounds like a dog walker. Channel Awesome. Didn't Omar work at Channel Awesome?
Omar might have worked at Channel Awesome. Yeah.
We're all very closely interconnected here. It's 3 degrees of separation at most.
He's that guy.
The nostalgia critic. Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I love how you like that guy.
I have seen that image before.
I've seen that image. I am so unconnected from other YouTubers.
Same.
I do love Folding Ideas, though, Dan Olson. And much like Marty, it is in my queue, waiting for a time where I can snuggle in and be unhappy about something. Because a lot of his video essays do make me unhappy about stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Jonathan Griffin, thank you so much for the $2 donor. Marty, Testament of Ann Lee. The problem here is that the only time the Testament of Ann Lee is in my brain is during the 3 hours a week we do this podcast, where I try to remind myself to watch it over the next 2 weeks, and then no one talks about it over those 2 weeks, and then it gets brought up again on the podcast, and no, I haven't had time to watch it because I'm on the podcast right now. I absolutely have time. I can watch this movie. Someone just needs to remind me at some point in the next 13 days. I don't know how we can do this, but someone needs to remind me. That's our next
fun goal.
This
has become a settle a bet. Like, this is very much a settle a bet.
This is 100% a settle a bet. This is Jack and Darren are fighting on the Testament of Ann Lee, and we need Marty to pick a side.
Maybe that's why I'm afraid to watch it.
Just wait till we get into what we were watching this week, because I got some hot takes on some stuff that I know Darren likes.
I'm excited for this.
Jack comes burning in for Michael. 5-star masterpiece.
I can't believe that's actually Michael Part 1. Michael will return. Possibly, maybe.
Okay, look, the embargo has passed. I can say that the movie very definitely leaves the door open for there to be a sequel. And by leave the door open, I mean all but promises textually. And by textually, I mean literally in text on the screen.
Michael is the Michael Jackson movie, the biopic that's coming out.
I thought we were talking about a sequel to the John Travolta Angel movie.
Oh, wait. It's like we're really digging into the franchise. We reached the bottom of the barrel and we just kept going. No, this is the Michael Jackson biopic from Antoine Fuqua, I think is how you pronounce it, but the Training Day guy.
Sure.
Yeah, it ends with like a promise or a threat.
There's the Angel movie. It ends with Michael will return. Impossible crimes
in Avengers Doomsday.
Pure Pyro, thank you. I don't want that popcorn bucket. Pure Pyro, thank you so much for the €2 dono. I haven't watched it yet, but what are your thoughts on Vivarium? That was from a couple years ago. That was a liminal space movie, right? With Jesse Eisenberg.
Yep, and Imogen Poots.
Imogen Poots. Great name to say.
I really liked it. It's Lorcan Finnegan, who's an Irish director. It's part of that wave of Irish horror that kind of emerged along with Lee Cronin's movie, which I'm sure Jack was not referring to even obliquely a moment ago. But that wave of kind of Irish horror movies around the turn of like the 2010s into the 2020s. It is basically a Twilight Zone episode. It's a 2-hour-long Twilight Zone episode. It is perhaps a little long, given the premise of a Twilight Zone episode being half an hour. But I think it's very good. I think it is absolutely a liminal horror movie. It feels very ahead of the curve in terms of being a liminal horror movie. It has incredible visual design. I think its visual design is stunning. We've got Eric showing some photos there as well. It's about this couple who basically get trapped in suburbia, an inescapable, ever-looping suburbia, and are forced to live like an entire family life. Adopting and raising this small, strange foundling child they find in the middle of this housing estate they cannot leave. And it is, of course, like a metaphor for the nightmare of being a parent and how when you're a parent, every day is the same. And there is no escaping the dull, dreary, oppressive happiness of your life. I really liked that. That was very good.
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
It was also one of those movies that came out right at the start of COVID, but was clearly filmed before COVID, but felt like a COVID movie because like there's very few actors on screen the whole time.
Yes. And it's about being trapped in your house and trapped within a 500-meter radius of your house.
Yeah.
Like one of the big things is they literally cannot walk away from their house without circling back to their house.
Yeah.
Like a good old loop. What's the speaking of Irish directors, the guy who did Oddity has got a new movie coming out, right? Hokum?
Damien McCarthy, Hokum, which is
Have you had a chance to see that yet? Is that good?
No. Premiere is on next Monday, which I'm really looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to that too.
For me and Marty, it is playing at the Milwaukee Film Fest, which is happening right now.
The MFF?
Yeah.
Did you see, or are you going to see any myths?
I'm hoping actually to see Hokum. There's a couple other movies that look really good, including one about a man whose dead wife gets reincarnated into a vacuum cleaner.
Oh, that's not good.
That's not good.
Somebody saw Jonathan Glazer's birth and was like, I have some notes.
What if instead of young child, it was vacuum cleaner?
And I'm actually doing a Q&A with one of the former writers for Beavis and Butthead, who is premiering a short movie called oh my god, what do I even remember what it's called? No.
Beavis and Butthead Do It America?
Doing Canada, it's an escalation.
It's an escalation.
It's called Exonia's Mild Kingdom. This Friday at the Milwaukee Film Fest, we're doing a Q&A with the writer-director afterwards.
Very fun. Look at that.
If you want to come down to Milwaukee to see a Hokum, you do it at the Milwaukee Film Festival.
That ain't no Hokum. That ain't no bunkum.
Oh, come on down.
Beautiful. Ryan Betts, thank you so much for the $2 dono. This movie legit made me want to replay the game. We'll get to that shortly. We've got a couple more super chats, but a lot to say about that.
Luckily, it's very easy to replay the game.
That is true. Murray the Demonic Skull, thank you so much, $5 Sorry, gents, we'll have to miss this live since I have a 2-hour drive to Montreal ahead of me. I may catch the end of the stream when I arrive. You know what? I hope you have a
They
great
are
time in
about
Montreal.
halfway through that journey now.
Yeah.
As I look at the clock. Yeah.
I hope you have a great time in Montreal. There's a place called Poutineville where you order poutine on a Scantron sheet. Remember Scantron sheets, Jack?
Yes.
Taking tests on Scantrons. It's like when you vote, how you have to like fill in a little bubble. There's like a bunch of like 100 different options, but you customize your poutine via Scantron.
Got to make sure to
Sounds
fill in the circle
unnecessarily
completely.
complex. Yeah.
It does feel nice, but it's like part of the thing of like, we got so many things. We need a computer to figure out
How
to
do we
make it.
modernize Putin? I do love the idea. And it's like,
But
we
it's
got
not
his
even
car in
modernized. Like,
1980. Yeah,
I
we
think
got his car in
Scantron is
1980.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
No, iPads can't handle our poutine. We need to go old school. It needs to be analog computing.
We got a
Pitched
new
an app,
breakfast.
but that was just too far. You know?
There's a new breakfast restaurant in Madison that's just got robots
realized you-
delivering your
you-
food. I don't like
You
that.
put in your order, yeah? Putin.
It makes it sound like you're talking about Vladimir Putin. He's a war criminal, Darren.
Good gravy.
You think he's ever had poutine? That'd be fun. That'd be a fun little like Oprah Uma Oprah moment.
I don't imagine any conversation involving Vladimir Putin is quote unquote fun.
I think I could break the ice with him if we were in Canada. I think that's the one time I could break the ice with him, and then he'd have one of his people poison me and I'd die. Which would be great.
Yeah.
Marty dies of radiation poisoning 7 days later.
But I got the goof.
3 years later,
Pirate.
Putin reflects it was actually quite funny, but you can't really take it back, unfortunately.
Dread Pirate, thank you so much for the $2 dono. I bet Darren knows what BC and AD stands for. Darren, you know what AD stands for when it comes to years?
This sounds like a trick question. I'm assuming he's referring to the Judeo-Christian calendar where it's before Christ and Anno Domini, I want to guess.
Did you ever
which is
hear
the year
people
model.
learn to it as before Christ and after death?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
a lot of people were taught that way. When you think about it, it doesn't make any sense because it gives you about 30 some years where nothing's really going on.
What, like Anno Domini just means something like the year of our
The year
Lord.
of our Lord.
Right.
Yes.
So it's
So
like,
it's like he
after-
arrived and it's like, boom, mine now.
Yeah.
and like, I did learn it as a child. I did learn it before Christ, after death. 100%.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Jay did. So it's not just an American thing. It just might be an idiot thing. It's possible it's just an idiot thing.
You look pretty dumb. I don't know if you're going to know this Greek, Latin bullshit.
That makes me question, is BC before Christ then? Because why is one of them English and the other Latin?
I think it's confusing. I think it's confusing.
I do believe BC is before Christ.
Yeah, it is. Because, it's ante-Christum, which is AC, is the Latin. So why do you use the English for before and the Latin for after?
Well, because AC/DC was getting popular as a band, and they just didn't want to confuse too many people.
People didn't want to get confused.
ACAD.
Yeah.
What's that? Isn't that's that Australian radio show clip where they're like, to win the tickets, you have to spell ACDC, and you have the woman go A E.
Oh no!
And it gets to the point where the radio host just say ACDC.
Just please repeat what I'm doing.
Dear God, just say
Dear
it.
God.
Sorry, but I have to share. In Spanish, we still have ACDC. Antes
See,
de
that's
Cristo
good.
and después de Cristo. So ACDC.
Oh, there
See,
you go.
that's the easy way to do it.
AC/DC.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when people are like, what did you think about those 30 years? I'm going to pull Dom Draper. I don't think about those 30 years at all. That's too long ago. I don't need to worry about what was going on back there. We got enough problems. We got enough problems nowadays. Kid Barchetta, thank you so much. MITM's revival premise requires Malcolm in the Middle's revival premise requires Malcolm's regression as a character since the finale. The better moments are in its character dynamics with each other.
Do we want to talk about the Malcolm in the Middle life still unfair revival here? Because there are thoughts and there are tied to that observation, I think.
Here's what I will say. I was a huge Malcolm in the Middle fan. It was an incredibly formative show for me growing up. Felt very like, it was one of those like shows that helped break a mold. It helped literally define what a sitcom would become. and I thought it was genuinely funny. I have not even had a passing thought in watching this revival. So talk about it, spoil it all you want. I will forget it exists.
Jack standing in the elevator with Frankie Muniz going, I don't think of you at all.
Frankie, I'm just so happy that you're at a place in life that you want to be.
I liked it. I thought it was fine. I think it kind of hits the ceiling of like what a nostalgic revival like this can be, where you know the to get the bad stuff out of the way first. The final episode is just chock full of nostalgic cameos for the sake of nostalgic cameos, which are completely pointless. It has that thing where it was clearly conceived as a 2-hour movie and then split up into a 4-episode season at some point in development, and there's a weird push and pull between it, where Malcolm, who is ostensibly the central character, has a character arc that runs the 4 episodes, so he is separated from the rest of the family for 4 episodes. I think that's what the commenter is referring to with the regression of Malcolm's arc, where Malcolm's like arc over the four episodes is reconnecting with his family, but also they're 4 sitcom episodes. So while Malcolm is away from his family and not in the show that you are watching, his family are continuing to be in Malcolm in the Middle. So all the other characters have like little arcs, and there are like, I do like that there are little individual like plots that run through episodes where you get things like, for example, Francis being stressed that he's number 8 on his mother's list of priorities when she's ranked them, and trying to work his way up the list, which is a good sitcom premise for an episode. And I quite like it in terms of doing like the 1 of 4. But the other big problem is that like, because Malcolm is all the way over there, despite being in the title of the show, and also because everybody loves Bryan Cranston, and Bryan Cranston has been a driving force of trying to get this back on the air, to the point where Cranston at one point wrote a script for a Malcolm in the Middle movie that he was planning to direct before this revival came back. Cranston becomes like the center of gravity for the show, where, with the exception of that one plot I mentioned, which is Francis and the mother, every other character plot on the show relates to Hal by 1 degree of separation. Every arc that like Reese and the daughter have, every arc that like the wife has, every arc that every character has is like 1 degree related to Hal. And like the plot of the thing is built around the anniversary of the parents, but that turns into a giant love letter to Hal. And it is very sweet because it is very clear that like everybody on the show loves Bryan Cranston, and Bryan Cranston loves being on the show. But it is very disconcerting because the premise of the show is Malcolm no longer talks to his family, and the rest of the show is just happening, and it's pretty fine. Like it's a very strange balancing act the show can't quite reconcile. Where even at the end, where Malcolm has his big like come to goodness kind of moment where he realizes he's been an asshole and he's realized that he's pushed his family out of his life. But even that is framed through the lens of, and I realize I let you down, Bryan Cranston. I never appreciated you, Bryan Cranston, for how great you were. And if I look at my role in this celebration of you, Bryan Cranston, who is great, I feel like I've let myself down too. It is really, really interesting how much the center of gravity of that show is off balance. I think I found it very charming. It does have some legitimately great goofs in it. I will say the single best sequence in the show is Bryan Cranston acting opposite 2 other versions of himself, which is both
just doing the Jim Carrey in Sonic 3.
Yeah, it is the best and the worst thing about the show that is the moment that really pops. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. I'm not, to your point, I hadn't thought about it at all. I'm not going to think about it that much anymore. I had a decent enough time watching it, and it does look like everybody involved had a good time. And let's face it, Bryan Cranston has earned it, so I got no real beef with it.
That sounds like the true double-edged sword, which is like way too much Bryan Cranston, but also I love Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
This sandwich seems vaguely off balance, but man, do I really
Tastes
like
good.
Yeah.
I love a manwich. I think we should put more manwich on my manwich.
At a certain point, the problem with that sandwich is not the filling; it's the bread. You know, like you're like just serve me a steak dinner. Like it's
yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Excellent. Peter Parker with a $5 dono. Thank you so much. What are you guys more excited for, if either? Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat 2? Mortal Kombat 2 movie is coming out imminently, I think in a few weeks. And Street Fighter is coming out, I believe, in October.
I remember
Which gives an indication of which one is good and which one's bad. Because originally, like, Mortal Kombat 2 was supposed to be like an October release, and apparently, rumor has it Warner Bros. Were like, no, you go in the Marvel slot at the start of May. This which is
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, the first new Mortal Kombat movie, I remember being good. I remember enjoying, but I'm hearing some people say it was bad.
It was famously one of those Project Popcorn movies. So it was deep in COVID, and we got to watch it at home. So I do think it got a little bit of a bump of I'm sad because the world is burning, and there's a new movie I can watch at home. This is fun. That's partly how I felt about it.
My big issue with like Mortal Kombat is like, and I'm somebody who hates like the Surf Dracula criticism of stuff where it's like where people are like, I want to get to the fun stuff immediately. I'm like, no, take your time, have a story arc, build a development, have like a clear beginning, middle, and end. I'm not usually a quote unquote Surf Dracula guy, but I will admit I did get a little peeved watching Mortal Kombat when the end of the Mortal Kombat movie is, oh yeah, by the way, there's a huge fighting tournament happening that we're going to enter now. I'm like, no, you don't get to do that. Not with this property. I'll let you have a full season of Daredevil where he just wears like the black mask. You could do that. Not with this.
Yeah.
Bad.
There is one thing we were promised leading into this movie, and it was Mortal Kombat. You did not deliver it.
Sorry, somebody in the comments, is it DJ Tay is asking Surf Dracula. Surf Dracula is a popular meme where the idea is that like in the old days you'd have a TV show called Surf Dracula, and every week Dracula would be on a surfboard doing something interesting.
Yeah.
Nowadays in the prestige television or modern franchise age, you spend 8 episodes of Dracula, just kind of wandering around Los Angeles dealing with existential hurdles, and at the season finale in the final 10 minutes in a montage set to a pop song, he looks longingly at a surfboard. That is what Surf Dracula is, to put it in context. Perry Mason, the Perry Mason revival, which is a good show, is a great example of a Surf Dracula. I really like that show, but it is the perfect example of the when are we getting to the fireworks factory?
So Daredevil Born Again Season 2, huh?
Which is odd because like the first season of Daredevil on Netflix is technically exactly that. He does the costume until the end, but it is still a satisfying television show. But
you didn't need to do it again.
Right. Yeah, the second
because he's
season
doing
of
Daredevil. It's because he's doing Daredevil things. Oh, we don't care about the outfit. He is doing Daredevil things. I don't want to break into what we've been watching, but it seems very apt to say that Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is so goddamn boring. This last week's episode was basically recapping the last 5 minutes of the episode before that. It is so egregious how little happens in this damn TV show.
Daredevil boring again, yeah?
I like it.
Sorry.
I like it. Also, Casey in the chat brought up a good point that Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are the kinds of movies they should try to synergize to release on the same day. That would be fun.
Right?
The problem is one of them would have to take a shot in the jaw because one of them would
lose,
make more money than the other one. But that would be fun. Like 2 franchises that have always kind of been in competition with each other that are about competition, put them head to head.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Unless you're working on Mortal Kombat when it underperforms and are fired as a result of your fun meme idea.
Or the same thing about Street Fighter.
Yeah, I know, the other side of the aisle. But I do just love the idea of, like, David Zaslav holding a staff meeting and saying, by the way, the 1,000 of you that have been let go, you can let it go. You can blame Dave and his meme idea.
Yeah, but at least it was a fun bit.
But also, like, with the state of who gets fired now, even if one of them is incredibly successful, the entire team will be fired. It doesn't matter anymore.
No, Disney were like, we were so proud of Doomsday. We're gonna make so much money. By the way, there are layoffs happening next week. It is insane. Sony being like, we're looking forward to Spider-Man. It's going to be one of the biggest movies of the year, maybe the biggest movie of the year. By the way, we've axed like 1/12 of our workforce. It is insane. Anyway,
insane.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No insanity.
It's there was the story of like one of the artists at Marvel or at Disney Marvel Studios who'd been there for like well over a decade.
Andy
Was
Park?
like, I got pulled into was that where he said I got pulled into the conference room for a one-on-one meeting with HR where they let me go, and it was the conference room that I designed, and it's like the mural on the outside
with my low-key mural on it. Yeah.
It's a nightmare. True nightmare. King and Commoner, thank you so much for the $5 donut. It was nice to have a video game movie that had its main character react like someone who has played games before. You know what? Let's use this to jump into. We'll jump into Exit 8 here, and then we'll go over the rest of the super chats. After that, so Exit 8, like we said, based on the 2023 kind of indie horror game that helped popularize the anomaly hunt genre, which has become a big genre in the indie game space. It kind of being built on the framework of stuff like PT. The movie, like I said, a Japanese production, came out last year in Japan. Did great business, great reviews. Finally coming out in the West. We've had a chance to see it. Darren, you wrote your backdrop this week is on Exit 8 plus sort of the rise of liminal space horror between stuff like Backrooms and everything. So what did you think of Exit 8?
I really liked it. Shock horror. No, I had a really great time with it. It is almost tailor designed to appeal to me in that it is like very obviously riffing on The Shining. There's a lot of the Stanley Kubrick stuff in here, a lot of winding corridors that make no sense, a lot of uncanny visitors, a sense that you are trapped in a place and cannot escape it whatsoever. It is extremely kind of Shining coded, and The Shining is my favorite horror movie of all time. So I was very much like in the zone for this movie before it even began. Had a really great time with it. Really impressed in terms of its ability to, which I'm sure we'll talk about, replicate the mechanics of gameplay, which is a very interesting thing to try and do in a different medium, because gameplay is obviously something interactive, and it's the idea of like you playing the game, influencing the results is a large part of like the joy of playing video games. But using the language of like repetition and restarts and infinite loops and using that to construct a narrative, I thought was very interesting. But also crucially doing that while being a film. Finding a way to integrate those mechanics into a narrative that is like compelling and makes sense and has like a lot of thematic heft to it, I think. Like, again, I did a backdrop on it this week, which indicates that maybe I do think that this has a lot of thematic depth, a lot of stuff going on under the surface. And even just like in terms of the basic construction of the movie, like a lot of things that I just liked in terms of how it was made and how it was shot, where we talked about this with Iron Lung, the Markiplier movie, which we all saw. I think we were all very respectful towards. I don't think any of us actually hated it. We maybe did think it was mostly fine, would be kind of roughly where we would have put it. And a very good debut for a filmmaker who was like starting out in terms of making a feature film. But one of the things we noted about like Iron Lung was that it's in a very confined, repetitive space. There are only so many ways that you can shoot a submarine before it becomes repetitive. And particularly if you're going to do it over an extended period of time, if you're in the same location and you're shooting it from the same angles with the same shots, it is going to get very dull and very boring very quickly. I thought Exit 8 was remarkably well constructed and did a much better job of that, where, slight spoiler for Exit 8, it is all set within the same length of corridor, looping over and over and over infinitely. Right. But I think the film does a really good job of managing to strike the balance of making sure the corridor always looks the same, which, by the way, when you're editing a video essay on it, makes it very hard to cut that video essay together mechanically. But B, finding a way to like get into that space in ways that are really interesting. So like it generally uses long takes to move through the space, which gives it kind of a more organic type feeling. It opens with a first-person shot, which is evocative of the video game, but also serves to situate you in it. And like it finds a way to avoid feeling like you're in the same sequence of the movie over and over and over again for the better part of 100 minutes. I was really impressed with just how well this was constructed. It at times felt like kind of a conceptual challenge of a movie, where I can't imagine being in the meeting where you're like, so you got to make a movie and it's a corridor. And it's got to be like 100 minutes long. And it's like, so where are we going? You're in the corridor. Nothing, just over and over and over again. I was really, really impressed by it. And I thought really unsettling as well. Very, very well made. So liked it a lot. 2 thumbs up from Darren.
Check.
Yeah. I think like one, I really enjoyed it. I think it's really good. I do think in the gymnastics metaphor, like it didn't necessarily stick the landing, but it was one of those like it fumbled a little bit. So like all of the judges gave it a score knock, but maybe everyone else is like, I didn't see a fumble at all. Where like I don't know, wasn't it didn't stick the landing perfectly for me, but overall I really enjoyed it. I think if we do directly compare it to Iron Lung, or dare I say the Mario Galaxy movie.
Who is going to be the first one to bring it up?
Well, I think Iron Lung is a better comparison because there were several sequences in Iron Lung. Actually, some of my favorite sequences in Iron Lung are the ones that kind of highlighted the joy that Markiplier had within the game. That like the actual mapping of the blood ocean floor, that sequence in Iron Lung was very fun and very I want to say frenetic, but I don't know if that's the correct word. It felt like it was building up momentum within the movie. And I really liked that in Iron Lung. And I thought a lot of the rest of Iron Lung fell apart, even though I enjoyed it very much. But in Exit 8, that building of the mechanics of the hallway was such a wonderful sequence. And then like the way in which they cut to different perspectives, the way they cut kind of away from the main action and back to it to reset that tension, I thought was damn near pitch perfect. My one complaint is I don't know if this counts as a horror movie. I think this is a very good movie and like a middling horror movie, if that makes any sense.
I agree with you, but I also don't think the game is 100% a horror game.
Yeah.
It's like a puzzle thriller where you're trying to, these anomaly hunt games are you usually have to loop through an environment multiple times. It's the same environment, but the whole thing is it has an entrance and an exit that, again, kind of are recursive. But you need to notice if something is off in the environment. And so whether that's the train station or there was a game that took place in like an old like British pub with the same thing. Yeah, if you notice something off, you need to turn around and exit the way you entered. And if everything seems fine, you press on through and get to the other side. And so some of them have more kind of jump scary things, but I do think some of them are a part of this, that almost that new Gen Z genre of liminal horror that Darren wrote the backdrop about this week. That I do feel like is a different flavor palette of horror, or maybe the broadening of horror. Yeah. And I think this movie digs into it really well. I think also while marrying those video game things we talked about, the first 7 or 8 minutes of the movie are first person. Much like the game, but really puts you in the shoes of this main character going through kind of the doldrums of his everyday going to work on the tube and everything, and doom scrolling on his phone. A lot of the things he sees on his phone end up being pulled into spooky things later on in the movie. But I do think, in terms of movies that feel like video games, this might be one of the video game adaptations that feels the most like a video game, like the way you guys said, they're able to draw those mechanics into things in the filmic world.
My question to us internally was another video game movie that was able to bring in the mechanics into not just into the movie, but into the theming of the movie. I think like the depth, narrative depth, agreed, but also like very, very simple stakes. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going to talk about the first 5 minutes of the movie. This is not a spoiler. Yeah. The first 5 minutes of the movie. The movie opens when our protagonist gets a call from his girlfriend saying that she's pregnant. I can't imagine that's a spoiler. It happens within the first 5 minutes.
It's before he's entered the corridor. That's the central selling point of the movie. Yes.
It is also, we are made aware both by our protagonist and by his girlfriend that he is a person who is very bad at making decisions. He is a little listless. He is a little, he's not a person of determination. And so the entire movie is just this wonderful allegory about his own indecision. It's really, really beautiful. And so integrating the mechanics of noticing difference and decisively, am I going this way? Am I going that way? Making quick decisions, making final decisions, which is the entire mechanic of the game, into the narrative is something I don't know if we've seen in a video game adaptation.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it in the backdrop. The closest thing is like Live, Die, Repeat, The Edge of Tomorrow, which is not a video game adaptation, but it adheres to the logic of video games and uses it as a narrative conceit, where the idea is you memorize patterns and you go through routines and you move through and advance through understanding the world as a series of like events and consequences, actions and reactions. I'm trying to think in terms of like video game movies, what is there in terms of comparison to that? I like Until Dawn is kind of close, but somebody pointed out that like Until Dawn adds that mechanic to the video game. The video game doesn't necessarily
Did not have that.
Which is like a video game movie that adds more video game logic on top of the video game. Like,
right.
I will say the one that came to mind that we watched a few months ago for the Phoenix tier monthly movie hang was Werewolves Within, which is based on a Ubisoft VR social deduction game that's like Werewolf or Mafia, you know, one of those, someone in the room is not who they say they will. The movie is very much kind of like a spooky take on Clue, slightly spooky, still silly and everything. But the movie does build that sense, like any murder mystery, builds a sense of paranoia of, you know, all the characters sitting around in a circle. Some of them might have weapons, everyone being accusatory of who is the other person talking the truth about who they are, which is mechanically what the game is. The game is you accusing your friends of lying. So that is brought a little bit. I do not think nearly to the level that a movie like this does it. And I'm not even sure, it'd be tough to like name anything. Like if someone was like, how do you make the Elden Ring movie feel like the Elden Ring game? I'm like, it would be the main guy losing to the same enemy for 45 minutes straight.
Well, I was about to say, like, it's you watch the movie for 12 to 16 hours is presumably how you replicate that experience.
Well, my guess is, my hope is that the Elden Ring movie keeps a lot of the kind of Dark Souls Elden Ring themes alive, which is like, it's almost the Groundhog Day thing, which is like the only way to lose is to give up. And within the Dark Souls Elden Ring lore, the characters that lose, the characters that go hollow, the characters that turn violent are the characters that give up trying, and us, the player, keep moving forward even after failure. And so what I hope for the Elden Ring movie is that they somehow add those mechanics into the narrative, is our hero being beaten down several times and keeps on fighting. That's one of the amazing thing that FromSoft does with a lot of their games. And so like, and I know it's like, it's stupider and it's simpler for like the Mario movie, because you can't necessarily make jumping a thematic thing.
You need to reach a high though. Like, it's like Mario's big arc is he needs to reach higher, stand taller, and it's like he learns to jump at the end, and it's like, it's a very simple childish thing. You can do that.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
The problem with the Mario Galaxy movie is they know what a story is. They just don't care. Like,
it's almost impressive how little they care.
Yeah,
they simply don't care.
Watch us set up all these pieces, and it's like, are you gonna do anything with them? Watch us set up all these pieces.
Yeah, I part of me is wondering, could a Zelda movie do it based on one of the things that Zelda does, especially like, you know, the 3D entries are those kind of like moments of awe and adventure of cresting a hill and seeing, which are things that have been done in movies. Like Lord of the Rings is incredible for doing that. And granted, that's like a high watermark, but like all those montages where the score swells up and you get those helicopter shots of the crew crossing a mountain or running through a field or anything like that. Like that, when I think of like adventure in cinema, I think of those moments. And a Zelda movie could have that. Whether this movie will have that is a very different thing.
And this is going to sound snarky, but I swear to God, it is not snarky. I'm warning you ahead of time. This is going to sound snarky. What I really want is Link cooking a meal.
Oh, that'd be great. And fucking it up and being like, oh, this is dubious. I don't want to eat this.
You know, like thinking specifically of Breath of the Wild, which I do believe the movie, at least the visuals so far, are based off of Breath of the Wild, ?
Well, there's been a leak of his costume, and his costume almost looks like Twilight Princess now.
Oh, does it?
Like nothing has been official. This was like, I think like one of the directors of photography was like, we wrapped, and posted a bunch of pictures he shouldn't have.
Oh, gotcha.
And now
Like-
he's wrapped in
Now he's
cellophane.
Oh, he's getting lots of calls from his agents. Within Breath of the Wild, and this is on the top of my mind because Marty and I just did a big long stream of it. Who won the
bingo, by the way?
The bingo. Marty won the bingo by
In
l-
frames.
The horse was the horse at the center. Was the center
No,
horse.
literally, I won it by mounting a horse moments before Jack did. Like a
Darren-
second before Jack did.
a
In the middle of an
half a
in
second.
real life thunderstorm where my feed was cutting in and out. Like it genuinely felt scripted.
Yeah.
But we're talking about video game mechanics being used to
That
generate
was-
drama. There we are.
But like within Breath of the Wild, something that's really important mechanically is being prepared for areas. Is like, oh, I need to gather these items so that I can go into the cold area. If I don't do that, I will die. I need to gather these items so I can fight. So something I would really like, something very easy narratively, is that Link is naive and headstrong and thinks that he can just run into a battle, gets his ass handed to him, and has to Batman his way out of it. Oh, I actually need to prepare for a fight, and that is both character growth and a mechanical callback to the video game. That's the kind of pairing that I'm looking for with video game movies, and I think Exit 8 does a phenomenal job of, and it's simple. It's super very simple. This person in their life is stuck.
If only that were a theme that we could relate to or felt universal in some way, that we
Yes.
could mine some sort of character drama from.
Yeah.
No, it's incredible. Like it's you're right, it's very simple, but it's very artful as well. Like,
Yes.
and I think the movie does it on multiple levels without getting into spoilers. But like the idea of like you're about to have a kid, and like you're about to have a kid is a moment where you realize you can't just keep going in loops and circles. You are not stuck in the same moment forever and ever. It's very deft. I think it's like incredibly well constructed, and it's very smart doing what it does, and it makes it look kind of effortless. It's that thing where it's like if you're watching it and you're not tracking this stuff, you're having a good time with the movie. You're like, oh, walls bleed or something, it's like walls bleed or suddenly it's yellow or the eyes, you're like, man, there's a bunch of creepy stuff in this movie, thumbs up. But if you actually follow the mechanics of it's a well-made movie.
Yeah. That's
do we
that's
wanna-
the almost most shocking thing about it is how I don't want to say how I don't want to talk badly about it because I watched it and really, really enjoyed it. But it almost seems like, oh, well, duh, we should have been doing this from the beginning.
Do we want to have a brief spoil? Because there's a couple spoilery things I do want to talk about that that I was really impressed by. So we'll have Eric, if you have the spoiler tag, we'll do some spoilers for Exit 8. If you don't want to be spoiled, again, we'll keep this section relatively short, but all three of us really enjoyed the movie, so a high recommendation there.
Go see it if you can.
Exit great.
I would go as far as say it's Exit great.
Yeah,
I think the Testament of Anomaly.
Oh,
Is that something?
Oh! Shit! Marty's thrown his hat into the room.
Into the Testament of Van Lee.
Sorry, I would have replied quicker, but that really threw me for a loop.
I thought you were going to make a Testament of Van Lee reference. I was like, I don't know anything else other than the name of the movie. One of you liked it and one of you didn't, and I don't even remember which one was which.
And as for Marty's opinion, we'll have to wait and see, Fried. But anyway.
She's also in the movie. I got that one. Nice. Okay, a couple of things I loved about this. By the end of the first act, I was like, oh, is this just going to be the movie? Which thankfully, the movie, one thing it has over Iron Lung, 90 minutes instead of 2 hours.
Oh,
which I think is
hell yeah.
great. The movie,
I mean, it's more than 2 hours, to be frank.
Yeah.
17 or something?
So 90 minutes, great. But I love that when the kid is introduced, we then get that moment of they seamlessly go into a flashback of the spooky salaryman.
Yes.
And what his backstory was without ever leaving, the station, without ever leaving the hallway. Like it transitions into this flashback that I think is like incredibly artfully done in a single take, and then
where the actor
short...
goes from the faceless, like just blank face to like actually being a human being. It's a really well done shot.
Yeah. Really great. And I just love his backstory of how like he kind of he didn't stick true to the rules, and he tried to find the easy way out, and in doing so got kind of stuck in this purgatory.
Yeah, well, and and of course, like the fact that he is a salaryman, so like basically the 9-to-5 office employee of Japanese culture, is someone who historically is someone kind of stuck in their job, like stuck in an endless cubicle job. So again, great theming there. Obviously, that's part of the game as well, but. Really,
and also
great...
like the future of potentially the future of the main character as well. But just,
exactly,
we're talking slight spoilers here, but it's very telling that the businessman exits his loop, but by going forward, and like the protagonist says nope and just heads at the end. The last thing he does is go exactly back the way he came because he doesn't want to go up those stairs to the job, to the life or whatever,
The businessman is ostensibly going back to his job, and so he's going to, the reason he's stuck in this loop is because he is chosen to be stuck in this loop, whereas by the end of the movie our protagonist, who I don't even think has a name, makes the decision to go back on the train. He gets in contact with the mother of his child, and then there's obviously that last shot of the movie, which mirrors the opening of the movie, which I think is great, of him kind of looking up from his phone and deciding to actually do something about the asshole on the train.
Yes, and I think that was also like it's something we joke about a lot with arty farty movies, of kind of like, I was very much worried they were going to leave it up to interpretation on whether or not he goes and does something, because they held on that moment for a aggravating long time, but like he took his earbud out, the asshole's yelling at the woman, and it's like, oh my god, please make it, movie, make a decision. Your whole movie
character in movie also make decision.
And so he then and it was very simple, very tasteful, just walk towards their direction, so
just walks off frame, and
it's a couple of frames. He literally just turns his head and starts to move, and it just cuts to the title.
That's enough, and that's beautiful. I loved the introduction of the child in the game. Obviously, like our main character, we all think it's just an anomaly. But as it turns out, real human child who is also stuck in the loop, as a kind of a reinforcement of the allegory of he needs to become a father. Our hero needs to become a father. Most of the awful horror sounds are children crying. Which
very
also,
effective way of unsettling your audience, that a noise that is naturally designed to make human beings uncomfortable.
Yes, beautiful. Also just one of the really there was some very good kind of visual horror, like blood dripping down the eyes, watching you, creepy visual horror. One of my favorite horror shots was him looking at his own failures, and I thought that was a really incredibly beautiful moment. Like he opens a door and just sees himself
on the train,
not doing the right thing and not helping a young mother. Incredibly powerful visuals.
And even like the little rats, the little which is like, that feels very much like a moment but it's a moment we added for the trailers, where it's like we have to convince people that there's some gnarly stuff in here. But like the bit where the rats, like where one of them, because obviously he's on his phone and they're growing an ear on a rat, which is a thing that happens, but it's like one of them's an ear, one of them's an eye, one of them is a nose and a mouth with teeth in it inexplicably, and they form a little face, which I love so much.
No, that was beautiful. My one complaint, the reason that I say they didn't fully stick the landing is we as an audience are unsure on whether or not the boy leaves the loop. We assume the boy leaves the loop, but we do not see the boy leave the loop, and that was very upsetting to me.
I mean, I assumed the boy was his son, his future son. Right,
but the boy is not an anomaly, and the boy interacted with the I mean, again, it's kind of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff. I do also think like it is not to be a bit grim and cynical in the voice of darkness on the podcast, but like a large part of the conversation that he has with like his wife in the fantasy after he nearly drowns is like, nobody knows which way is the right way, and part of being a parent is accepting that you will get it wrong. And at some point, you're going to have to let the child go and wander through the world on their own. Now, it is unsettling when the child doing this is still literally, physically, and visibly a child, wandered and left to their own devices. But I did see that as like a metaphor for, part of parenting is like realizing that at some point you're not going to be able to guard your kids anymore. You can't walk your kids entirely through their lives, if that makes sense.
Oh, no, and I very much get that. It was just kind of like the metaphor breaking with the established reality was... Again, I liked it. We can make assumptions, and it doesn't really matter because the story's not necessarily about the boy. But for my tastes in particular, even if like the man just saw the boy outside and gave him the old Michael Caine nod, and
Master Wayne,
right? Even if we just got
the 8-year-old kid ordering a Fino Branca like a Tokyo cafe.
This kid be drinking on this patio,
right? We both know that you made it.
We both know that you made it, and so that's how I would have liked it. I think that would have been significantly cleaner. Still doesn't ruin the movie for me. Still, like, it's like Darren said, the metaphor is still there, and that's all that really matters. I just wanted it a little cleaner. So,
I mean, look, Jack, you got to accept that in 20 years you're going to see Exit 8 cubed, and it's going to be that kid's story told from his perspective. Now he's an adult and he's been stuck in the loop for 20 years, however long.
Oh, fuck. I don't want to. No.
Incredible. I do like it did the time loop thing that I think all great time loop stories do, where it has an anchoring piece of music. This one being Bolero, the classical piece. We've had stuff like the Sonny and Cher song in I Got You Babe and Groundhog Day. There's the song in Russian Doll every time she wakes up in the
bathroom.
Yeah, in the bathroom. I think there's one in Palm Spring as well, which I always appreciate. Also, I looked up that classical piece. Fun fact, it was up until the 25th hour going to be the title music of the original Legend of Zelda, and they ended up going with an original piece because they were worried they'd get sued.
Oh.
By the estate of Jean Revel.
Yeah, I don't know. If you do things that long ago, can you still get sued? But I guess it was the 80s, so it wouldn't have been that long after that.
So instead we just got one of the greatest pieces of video game music ever. Okay. Oh, darn.
Oh, trats. Any other thoughts on the movie? I liked how Spartan this thing felt. How few characters, how like expert use of that single set that apparently they built, and so we're able to everything in the movie feels real and feels tangible, which is nice.
The use of long takes as well, as much as it made it very hard for me to edit a video around it, which was quite lovely and impressive. The way that it builds momentum, like the fact that it is clearly influenced by like other movies and stuff like that, while it's based on a video game, it is emulating things like The Shining, which it clearly kind of loves and adores. Yeah, just a well-made film. And to your point, like you mentioned Spartanus, but the fact that it is about 95 100 minutes, the fact that it understands that there is a limit to how far you can stretch this infinite corridor, which I do respect. As much as I'm no good movie is too long and no bad movie is short enough guy, I do respect the understanding of there is only so far that we can stretch this Play-Doh.
We only have so much space. I mean, what do we got here? 2.5 submarines? Like, come on.
I will say that I should have acknowledged that when I was being mean to Markiplier. It is a much larger space. There are more places to put the camera there.
Oh yeah, no. I think one thing that I do want to say is, Marty, I want to say you might have said this within our Slack chat, but I thought it was very applicable here, which is this is a movie based on a video game that is also clearly has a love for a lot of horror movies. And so this to me is a really great use of that creative cycle of movies can inspire video games. Now video games can inspire movies, and that movie can take from the other movies and the video games, and we're all sharing and iterating on the same thing, on the same idea. And I think that's lovely.
It's very similar to like what I would argue some of the best like comic book movies do, where like Sam Raimi is obviously drawing on like the Spider-Man comics. Spider-Man comics are drawing from the media of the time, but also Sam Raimi is drawing from like William Castle movies and stuff like that, or like Nolan's Batman movies, which are drawing from comics that are drawing from The Godfather. But Nolan's like, I'm going to draw from Heat instead. But it's like it is like a very thoughtful approach of understanding how these objects exist in conversation with one another. That is like not just it looks like the video game. I will say, by the way, I played the video game and had a great time with the video game. More video games should take about 90 minutes to complete. I would play a lot
Agreed.
more.
Hard. What if we flop times? What if movies were 100 hours and games were like 95?
Theater train. You run that by CinemaCon next year. Like,
you got to get like the Dune 3 diapers, right? Yeah, the Doomsday catheter.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Any also
catheter for the
exactly. I didn't realize. I just read Eric's message. Apparently, he's been doing anomaly goofs to our cameras the entirety of the section, which is phenomenal. Just A+ work.
Yes.
That's cinema right there, baby.
Stunning.
Take Eric to CinemaCon.
Yeah.
Couple. You want to go over some more super chats before we get over to the rest of the stuff we've been watching? Robert Dooley, thank you so much. Eric, you can probably toss down the. Spoiler alert. I think we're probably done with spoilers. Robert Dooley, thank you so much for the $5 dono. Bloodborne movie feels like a big monkey's paw situation, but it's got me to think about how good a Robert Eggers Bloodborne movie would be. Of the Vivitch.
Werewolf.
He's making Werewolf, which is pretty much a Bloodborne movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think he'd end up with Eggers on his face, Jack?
I love Bloodborne was my introduction to what have become my quite literally personality defining games. So Bloodborne means a whole lot to me. And at the end of the day, like Bloodborne, a lot of these games are just kind of vibes with a bunch of lore. And so finding a story within them is going to be the hard part of any of these adaptations, including the Elden Ring movie, is like finding a way to tell these stories. I think the vibe of all these are going to be the easy part. I think the Bloodborne animated movie, like, oh, it's going to look great, but like, what is this story about? Why should we care about watching this rather than just playing the game again? And Bloodborne has a ton of amazing lore, amazing themes. And no offense to Eggers, I don't know if he's the man to tell those themes. So that's all.
Are they about how modernity sucks and how he doesn't want to live in a world with cell phones?
I mean, there are no cell phones in Bloodborne. That's a plus.
No cell phones in Bloodborne.
I do love that. Like he's given interviews where he's just like, I can't imagine living in a world or making a movie with a cell phone in it. I'm like, I like how honest you are.
Someone posted a highlight reel of his commentary track over The Witch and how much he hates The Witch, where he's just like, oh, if I could go back and CG out her ear piercings, you can see the holes where her earrings were and they didn't pierce ears back then. Oh, fuck, I hate this movie.
Well, it's a good thing literally no one else noticed that.
Yeah.
Robert,
yeah.
I do like how like hyper specific he is into his thing though. Like there is something fascinating about it. Where like as an outside observer, I'm like, well, there's a lot of really interesting thematic stuff to pick up in this, and you just know in his head, it's like pierced ears.
Yeah. Well, but not even pierced ears. Like one of the highlights of the commentary track was like, now here's the thing. If you look at the thatching on this roof, that was more of a European style thatching, and because they were Quakers, they would have done it noticeably differently. We had to build this set in this way to have it up to code, and it's something I think about today. This movie's terrible.
I did like when those two guys had that sword fight by a volcano and they were just naked and their dongs were flopping around.
Hell yeah. A lot of floppy dongs.
His Lion King remake, very underrated. Yes.
Very underrated. Double the Fingers, thank you so much for the €5 dono. I haven't seen Exit 8, but I'm just going to assume that at some point the 8 turns on its side to form an infinity symbol. Great video, once again, Darren.
Thank
It
you.
does in your video. In your video,
does.
you got a little 8 turning on its side.
Dude, there's a little rotate. I mean, it is the easiest possible gag to make in a looping game with 8 in the title. I mean, that is one of the reasons why these things tend to happen on, like, I think in Chainsaw Man it's the 8th floor as well.
Sure.
And like it's just a really cool visual reference. Also, I believe in Japanese culture, 8 is ubiquity because it's the 4 positions of the compass and then the 4 other superpositions as well. So it represents everything. It's a holistic number, I believe. I say during
Jack, you know about these
limited research.
superpositions?
I've got a special book I've been reading on it, man.
Karma suits you, sir.
Boo-ray, thank you so much for the $5 dono. Do you think they'll try to sneak What's Up somewhere in the soundtrack for Masters of the Universe? I say this having not seen the trailers.
Is that a hey?
What's
hey,
going on?
Yes.
It is in the trailer for Street Fighter.
Yeah.
That's all, that 4 Non Blonde song is in their latest Street Fighter trailer. I believe that there was a He-Man goof someone put on the internet of He-Man to that.
It was He-Man and Skeletor singing the oh, there it is. Yeah, singing the like club remix version of What's Going On.
Yeah.
100 I would bet actual physical money that there will be a hey, what's going on goof within the Masters of the Universe. I will, like, what amount of money? I will bet someone actual physical money that they will have that goof.
Incredible.
That's how little I think of modern filmmaking.
Well, someone's not getting their
Jack is just rifling through big bags of cash, putting it on the table, saying, "Who's man enough to take?
Who's gonna call me out on it?"
Yeah.
You know what? When we see the large soda sword and Castle Grayskull popcorn bucket in your background, I'm gonna call shame on you, sir.
But he only got that by winning the What's Up bet, to be fair.
That's right.
He doesn't get any cash from it. He just gets those 2 tchotchkes, which probably give you cancer if you consume what was inside of them. That's the other thing, is I don't know if I'm not like a microplastics guy.
Yeah.
But I don't think I want to consume my meals out of these things. Like,
No.
Well, I mean, isn't that famously the thing about the Dune popcorn bucket, is setting aside like the sex joke of it, it is incredibly hard to like use as a popcorn bucket because the prongs like just shred the popcorn as you're lifting it out.
Yeah. That's what it tastes like when you try to eat popcorn out of the Shai Halud. Is that what the name of the worm is?
Yeah, Shai Halud.
Yeah. I miss that guy. I hope he comes back in the next
Big
movie.
guy.
I hope he comes back in that next movie.
Tears in his eyes.
Tears in his eyes. Sir, I don't like it when they pound on the sand. Man in Black, thank you so much for the $10 donor. Prepare for his role in the upcoming Street Fighter movie. Australian chef Alexander Volkanovski spent the last 8 years fighting in the UFC and became a 2-time champion. I think that is a goof on the order of those things. I think he was a chef. He became a UFC champ, and then he got hired in the movie. Great. Which I think is a fun goof. Good for him. I hope they get to do a street fight. Be smart to the $2 dono. Thank you so much. Regarding Daredevil, finally someone said it. Thank you. You know what, Jack, you're brave. You're brave to be hating on the Daredevil.
I feel like this is stolen valor. I feel like I've been on this podcast complaining about Daredevil longer.
You have, but you've been like, you've been hindered by embargoes, and so now, like, as the rest of us are seeing the episodes and just sighing along with you, I'm sighing slightly louder. I'm sorry. I don't want.
Yeah, maybe that's your fear, Darren, is that you don't want to give something. You don't want to complain about something that hasn't happened yet. Jack is free to complain about anything because he's on pace with the comic.
I love, by the way, that like Jack is complaining about stuff that isn't happening yet anyway, which is nothing. Right. Nothing is happening.
Nothing is happening.
Yeah.
No, and it's like the more I watch it, and the more that they tease like the Defenders coming back into it, the more I think, God, I don't care. Like, nothing is happening. If Jessica Jones shows up, what's she gonna do? More nothing? For Christ's sake.
I can't answer that question, Jack. You know I can't.
Like, Jessica Jones, arguably Jessica Jones season 1, the greatest of all Netflix Marvel shows. Kristen Ritter is going to show up and continue the boring downhill slide, the slow, snowless downhill slide of Daredevil as a TV show. God damn it. It's so upsetting.
But then on the other side, I support the blind community, and I think women should be allowed to be private detectives. Is that what she is?
Like, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think
she should allow to be a private eye.
I mean,
And
like, I know
Mike
what
Coulter
she is
should be allowed to have muscles.
Okay, I believe that Mike Coulter should be allowed to commit war crimes on behalf of the U.S. government. It's a very specific thing that I'm enabling and encouraging. We can talk about it in about a week and a half.
Very exciting. It's very dumb. Incredibly dumb. JG, thank you so much with a 10-pound dono. Finally tapped into the wonders of Tubi and just watched the Dollars trilogy for the first time since childhood. Headed to see Rio Bravo screening this evening. Any other recs for the quintessential Westerns? That's fucking huge.
Yeah.
I mean, starting with the Dollars trilogy and then going to Rio Bravo is pretty incredible. In terms of the other big old tentpole ones, stuff like The Searchers, obviously, Once Upon a Time in the West,
which is kind of a coda to the Dollars trilogy.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Unforgiven, that feels like a good sort of let's put a cap on this genre, which obviously didn't stop, it didn't go anywhere, but feels like it could have been the ending of a genre in a really great way.
Like, also, you kind of started with the amazing ones, and so like also just kind of maybe like do Once Upon a Time in the West, and then maybe just take a break and like don't watch a Western for a little bit and let those sink in.
Do you want to shout out, because I rewatched it recently, the Coen Brothers True Grit is stunning.
Yeah.
Like, everybody goes on about like the Wayne one because Wayne and his Oscar and stuff like that, and obviously it's a hugely important film for Wayne. I don't think it's very good. The Coen Brothers True Grit is an incredible piece of filmmaking. If you want another Wayne recommendation, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance is great. And actually, like, I like a lot of the late John Ford stuff. Is it like Cheney Autumn is kind of really interesting, and then is it Sergeant Routledge, where like towards the end of his career, Ford has a Tarantino moment where he's like, you know what? Maybe I was a little bit racist, and maybe I wasn't great to women.
Yeah,
I should make a movie about the West from the perspective of the Native Americans, or a person of color, or a movie about like women. Yeah, there should be women in my movies, I think.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because he's not good at it, to be clear. It's not like he becomes woke King John Ford, but there's a really interesting sense of like a man at the end of his career kind of looking back over it and going, maybe I did have some blind spots in the 40 years that I was making movies, and can I make up the difference for it? So if you're interested in delving into things that are a bit off the beaten track, I would recommend like what I call the John Ford Apology Tour, which is basically The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which is maybe John Wayne wasn't all that, Sergeant Routledge, which is like, what if I had a person of color at the centers, Cheney Autumn, which is, you know what, maybe we were a bit unfair to the Native Americans, and that sort of thing, and just kind of follow those movies along. Very interesting in the context of Ford's career.
I like
also,
it.
if you want movies that are obsessed with time, High Noon is a great movie where there's like a constant literal ticking clock as he's trying to gather a group of people to help him and is failing at that.
Round up a posse.
Yeah, and then the I don't know, did we mention the Peck and Paw movies? Not just the Wild Bunch, but Peck, Garrett, and Billy the Kid, and then Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, which I love.
And this is very obvious and very basic, but the Tarantino ones as well are generally quite good. I have like a huge soft spot for The Hateful Eight, but that's because I'm a deeply cynical human being who was going through some stuff in 2016. But it's an incredibly bleak movie about the American experience, which it released in America in like 2015, and you guys were like, man, this movie's really mean-spirited about like race relations in America. And it got over here in like 2016, and I was going, huh. Movie's really tapping into something about race.
That's like the two different viewings of the drama. The American viewing of the drama and everywhere else viewing the drama about America.
Speaking of Tubi, real quick,
you got to
quick.
To be or not
real
to
quick,
be.
to be or not to be, especially because it was brought up that Vivarium is basically a long Twilight Zone episode. 5 seasons of the Twilight Zone are available to watch on Tubi right now.
Yeah,
love the Twilight Zone.
And like when a Twilight Zone episode is good, it's like one of the best things in the history of like human
Yes.
art. It is stunning. There
It is
are a
stunning.
lot of them that people forget about, which are fine or solid, or some of them are not great. But like you'll be watching one and it will just hit like crack. It's incredible.
Yes. It's absolutely amazing. Also, it's just like a great thing to have on whilst you're cooking. Just put on in the background like an old episode of the Twilight Zone. They will, and you 5 seasons. Tubi, don't even need to log in. Again, we are not sponsored by Tubi. They in fact have disabled their comment section because I kept asking them for money.
I just kept asking. Why won't they return my my messages?
If you don't ask, you'll never get.
You'll
See,
never get.
exactly.
Yeah.
Snake, thank you so much for re-upping in the Green Gang and then a €2 dono. What's the best media about an animal? # needs cats. I'm assuming that's needs cats and not need scats.
Ew.
Maybe a big Scatman fan.
Big Scatman Crow.
Everyone
There's
knows- yeah.
Skibbity-bitty-boo bop.
everyone loves
Yeah,
Skitty
everyone
Doo.
knows that the Scatman stutters, but he doesn't ever stutter when he sings, right?
I like that. My favorite live action animal movie is Babe, and my favorite animated movie about an animal is My Neighbor Totoro. He's not a real animal, but that's fine.
There's
kinda
a cat
cute.
bus in it, to be fair.
There's a cat bus. It's
There's a cat
perfectly
bus.
normal. But yeah, Babe would be my real answer.
Flow, which was the animated movie
Flow was
from
great.
like 2 years
I
ago,
loved
which
Flow.
is
Yeah.
absolutely stunning. We 3, which is the comic book written by Grant Morrison, illustrated by Frank Quitely, which is like just a deeply perhaps like grim take on Homeward Bound, a grim science fiction take on Homeward Bound, but it did make me cry a little bit when I read it, so I'll shout that out. That's We 3. It's a very easily readable graphic novel.
What is the post-apocalyptic sci-fi movie? Is it A Boy and His Dog? Is that what it's
Yes.
called? Like,
Yeah.
there you go, Boy and His Dog.
There you go. We did it. King and Commoner, thank you so much for the $5 dono. Eggers makes movies about hypermasculinity and its negative impact on both men and especially women. Bloodborne doesn't seem to match that theme. Listen, there's a school of menses, there's all the blood, you got to get your umbilical cords.
Like,
There's some themes in there. There's some themes
there obviously there's a lot of interpretation, but Bloodborne is about like the mess and the horror that is birth. And like the joy of life and also the terrible thing that comes from life. Eggers has a wheelhouse, and I don't think it's Bloodborne, and that's okay.
Maybe he'll get out of that wheelhouse though.
Do love the idea of him going the Edgar Wright route, where it's just like my goal was really to remake a bunch of mediocre 80s movies. That's really where my heart was at all along.
That's all I had. That's the only pitch I got. I guess everyone can't be Kubrick out here, like redefining himself with every single movie.
Like give
JC Chandler, it's like, I want to take a crack at Craven. I feel like I can crack it, you know?
Hold on, let me look up. Give Rose Glass a budget.
Ooh, yes.
Director of one of my favorites and not oft talked about horror movies, Saint Maud. Give Rose Glass a budget and a script for Bloodborne, or like just sit her down for a while and let her play Bloodborne. And I would love to see it as a psychological horror and not an action movie.
Have you seen Love Lies Bleeding yet?
No, but it's like right there. It's like number 2 on my list. I needed to get something I watched this week out of the way, and now it's coming up. I'm very excited for Love
I'm
Lies.
very curious. Speaking of like ending talk, we will need to have ending talk about that movie. I'm so excited.
Great. Oh, great.
The co-writer of Love Lies Dead wrote and I think directed a bunch of Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen. Have you watched any of that, Darren? On Netflix? Have you heard about that at all? The miniseries Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen?
This is the married couple. It's the Duffer Brothers, isn't it? I have not.
This is like the Duffers' first post, which is funny because their next thing is just Stranger Things, but with the elderly. Like they showed a trailer for it. It is just there's an elderly community, and it's like, oh no, a Stranger Things is happening at night here. Like it is just.
They should just call it Strangest
Things,
is what they should.
Strangest Things. Like if you just told me this is just the kids, but they're old now, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But no,
like everyone's hunkering for Cocoon. That's the people yearn for Cocoon.
We're in our Wilford Brimley era.
Not incorrect, yeah.
And then our last super chat before we move on to everything else we've been watching. Boo-Ray with a $5 dono. Thank you very much. Rich Hall's How the West Was Lost is a good doc. I also just like Rich Hall's BBC4 documentaries overall. I've never seen that one. I actually don't know who Rich Hall is.
He's the if he's the guy I'm thinking of, he's the American comedian based in the UK. Like very good stand-up comedian. I haven't watched any of his documentaries, I must confess. He's the guy who explained the Tom Cruise movie as like a platonic ideal, which is the idea that every Tom Cruise movie adheres to a particular formula, where it's so there's a blank, pretty good blank, until one day he has a crisis of confidence. Then he has to overcome his crisis of confidence and learn that he's the best blank who ever blanked. So it's like there's a pilot, pretty good airline pilot, until one day he has a crisis of confidence. There's a race car driver, pretty good race car driver, until one day he has a crisis. There's a cocktail guy, pretty good cocktail guy, until one. And every Tom Cruise movie.
Wait a minute. There's a spy.
Yeah, pretty good spy until one.
Oh my God.
There's a lawyer, pretty good lawyer, until one day.
Yeah.
There's a public speaker and con man. A pretty good public speaker and con man. Oh my God.
Oh no.
Wait a minute.
There's a Texan oil billionaire, apparently.
Yeah.
Pretty good Texan oil billionaire until one day.
Part of me is now, is that just every movie?
That's fair.
That just might be every movie. And then Youngstown, thank you so much for a €5 dono. Thanks for the pod.
Wait, hold on. Beatmaster says, now do Rain Man. There's a brother, a pretty good brother. But until there's a crisis of conscience.
But I do, it's a lawyer, isn't he a lawyer in that as well? And it's like the discovery of the brother is the thing that gives him the, because it's very simple. Because it's the 90s, you could go in the whole, it's the firm or it's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a vampire. A pretty good vampire.
Pretty good vampire.
Who's a Vietnam veteran? Pretty good Vietnam veteran.
You want to know what my Hail Mary was there? I haven't seen Interview with a Vampire in a long time, and I can't remember if he was the vampire or if he was the interviewer.
No,
so I had a
50-50 by Eric Bogosian, I think it is.
I had a 50-50 shot of that
Slater.
joke making sense or not.
The interviewer is Christian Slater, yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to Christian Slater.
And technically, he's not the vampire being interviewed. Brad Pitt is.
It's not Interview with the Vampire, it's Interview with a Vampire.
Correct.
Brad Pitt's a vampire. Pretty good. He's not the vampire. That's the problem.
Spoiler alert.
It's just like, listen, I know I'm interviewing you. All I want to do is ask about the other vampire. I really don't care about your life.
If I remember correctly, isn't the twist at the end the other guy is also here? I remember very little about that movie, but I think
he's like hanging in the corner the whole time.
No, the closing shot is he's in a convertible. No, but he's in a the interviewer is in a convertible. And then Tom Cruise is there, and then "Sympathy for the Devil" starts playing by Guns N' Roses.
Tom Cruise shows up as kind of a so spoiler alert for Interview with a Vampire.
1993's Interview with a Vampire.
Yes, is at the end of the interview, Christian Slater wants to be turned, and Brad Pitt is like, "You don't understand the agony that I've had to deal with. You clearly don't understand everything I've been saying, because like my angst and agony is why I hate being a vampire." And Christian Slater is like, "This sounds fucking awesome. I want to be a vampire." And Brad Pitt refuses to turn him. So Christian Slater leaves, and then all of a sudden there's a Tom Cruise like, "I'll turn you into a vampire. Let's fucking go."
I have learned nothing from my experience with Brad Pitt.
Also, that is journalistic malpractice. If you're there as a journalist and you're like, fucking turn me into a vampire. You're like, wait a minute, you're crossing a line.
I think Elon Musk saying, "Please hire me at SpaceX." Yeah,
Marty, that's a different movie. It's what's the what's the one about the interviewer going around with all the pop musicians?
Oh yeah, you're right. That's the fucking Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
That's a lot of Almost Famous.
Almost Famous, but with vampires? That's kind of fun.
Literally, that's all Interview with a Vampire is.
Yeah, that's fun. I like that. Very silly. And then Jonathan Griffin, thank you so much, a $10 dono. I've been watching the new season of Your Friends and Neighbors, and I do like it, but never felt more like a show that's not really aimed at my demographic as a 23-year-old than this show. Interesting. So it feels like this. You're on the younger side of that,
Yeah.
because you get that when you're younger, and then you get that the opposite when you're older. You get when you're young, you're like, ooh, I don't think I understand Frasier. These jokes are above my pay grade.
Yeah.
And then when you get older, you're looking at something and you're like, I don't think I understand Skibbity Toilet.
Like
I
you're
think this is
watching,
aimed at not
Euphoria
What is
and
Chainsaw
just
Man?
going,
Yeah. Yeah.
To be
You're like,
fair, I don't
you
think
guys
even
should.
Gen Z understand Euphoria. Like
Yeah.
I don't watch Euphoria. I experience Euphoria the way it's meant to be experienced on Twitter on Monday mornings. But
I watch Euphoria, and let me tell you, I think I'm off this. I'm off this train.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay to the end, but I just want everyone to know I've been off this train for a while.
Yeah.
like I'm like it's a high school show, right? And I'm like, but also a private detective show, but also there's pet play. Yeah. Okay.
Great. Sure. Yeah.
And how many Oscar nominees are in the cast at the moment?
Oh, that's why it took so long for them to film it, and why it's the same thing like the Avengers, where it's like y'all weren't in the same room when you filmed this, were you? You were filming Frankenstein, and you were filming The Housemaid.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan Griffin followed that up. Thank you so much. Said also fascinating how this show and Sugar on Apple are obsessed with classic cinema without really having much to say about it. Yeah, I haven't watched Your Friends and Neighbors. I know that's the John Hamm one.
John
on
Hamm,
Apple, where I think
artist,
he's yeah. But I have watched Sugar, and yes, it was, I think, mostly to be like, man, a noir set in LA was cool as hell.
But also, like, Sugar benefited from, and I feel like you can say this as long as you don't reveal what it is, everybody who had got like pre-screeners of it being like, no, you don't understand. There is something coming. Like, and so, like, I remember, I think maybe even with you guys, there was a real sense of, let's guess what the something is. Yeah. Is he a werewolf? And it's like,
there was a non-zero chance he was a werewolf.
There's a non-zero chance that there was going to be a reveal that Colin Farrell was a werewolf. To that point, though, I think it is interesting if you look at streaming. Streaming has a lot of that going on, where, like, you look at Netflix. Netflix every year will do the Love of Cinema type movie, where, like, this year it was like Jay Kelly, which is like, man, movie stars are great, aren't they? Whatever happened to them? Who, like, created an ecosystem that can no longer support them? Guys, any ideas? Anyone want to speak to that?
Who put out the show creating this meme of it could have been any of us?
We're all trying to find the guy who did this.
But like, there's so much of that where it does feel a little bit like displacement anxiety from the streamers. And to be honest, if you're not even going to that level, I don't think it's the streamers constantly choosing. It's the people working at the streamers being like, am I participating in this? What is my relationship to the industry and its history? Do I feel alienated from it? Like, that's a big part of what I would argue, like, Fincher's work at, like, Netflix, in large part, like, particularly, like, post, like, Mindhunter, because Mindhunter is the one that breaks him, where they're like, we can't justify the expense of making Mindhunter anymore. And there's a real sense of Fincher being like, well, then what did I throw everything away for? Where, like, Fincher's work at Netflix after that is, like, it's Mank, which is basically, auteur theory fucking sucks. Directors are fucking idiots, and you should listen to fucking writers, is like what Mank is about, basically, at its core. Then you get, like, immediately afterwards, it's like The Killer, which is like, man, it really sucks being a contractor who's hired by a vast, faceless corporate entity, and maybe accidentally you kill the wrong person one time, and you never live it down. I'm sorry I killed cinema. I'm sorry I made House of Cards, but it's not my fault. I don't care. I'm Gen X. And now he's, like, again, making the sequel to the Quentin Tarantino movie about how, like, 60s Hollywood was, like, a romantic ideal, which is just a weird thing to contemplate, where it is a sequel to a Quentin Tarantino movie written by Quentin Tarantino going to Netflix, directed by David Fincher. Like, I do think it is, I don't want to say it's conscious, but I do think that it is a reflection of, like, where the industry is, that the streamers are producing shows that are like, man, Hollywood was great. Without getting into any specifics, Hollywood was great, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty spot on. That is bleak. That's some real bleak shit right there. Yeah.
Sorry, that was an upper of an observation.
No, I appreciate that. Cool. Let's we'll save the rest of these for after, but let's talk about other stuff we've been watching. Jack, what have you been watching?
So along with Exudate, I want to say I talked about this a little bit on a stream, I think, but we haven't talked about it here. I watched another movie that I was sure was a horror movie, and it is, and one, because it is labeled a horror movie. So here's the situation. I got Testament of Ann Lead all over again. Me and this lady we're going. We want to. It's a dark and stormy night here in Milwaukee, and she turns.
Marty
to
has
me,
just beaten me at Zelda. I'm in a real low place.
and she turns to me and says the one thing that every man wants to hear is, and she says, "Hey, we should watch a horror movie tonight." And I was like, "Fuck yes, that sounds exactly right." It was a dark and stormy night in Milwaukee. So we start going through all the networks, all the whatnots to find a horror movie to watch. And I come across a movie that is labeled as a horror movie that I have heard really great things about. And I say, what about this one? It's been on my list for a while. And she says, oh, I've heard really great things about that. We should watch that one. It is not a horror movie. It is I Saw the TV Glow.
You mean you watched the transliminal space movie, right? That's what you watched.
I might have forgotten what it was about.
We talked about how much we enjoyed the movie.
It's such a good movie. It is such a good movie, is what I need to say.
Yeah.
It is a phenomenal movie. But when you want to watch a dark and stormy horror movie, it is not the appropriate pick.
Particularly with your heterosexual partner, it's really not the right vibe.
Correct.
Also, it is
to a gay bar with your girlfriend. It's just not the place to be.
It's also it is it is capital H horror. It is come and see horror. And I'm that's not date night horror.
It is.
Yeah, you and your partner just turn off the TV and stare into middle.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened. That is exactly. It's such a good movie.
Yeah,
and I need to learn lessons. I need to learn my lessons.
Yeah,
when picking movies to watch.
James Schindler has a novel coming out, which is incredible, and obviously, they're at Cannes with the teenage
miasma?
sex and death at Camp Miasma as well. I am very excited for that. I also love that they're adapting Black Hole as well, I believe, which is really interesting.
The graphic novel?
The graphic novel Black Hole, I believe. Yeah,
that seems like it'd be very difficult to adapt.
Yeah, and it kind of requires the ambition that you see, I think, in I Saw the TV Glow. I think.
Yeah.
Very, very, very interested to see how their career goes. But yeah, an incredible movie.
An incredible movie. I don't recommend it for a dark and stormy date night. Just
it is not on my list of date night movies.
And this is okay. Fool me once, shame on me. Now it's happened again. I'm bad at picking date night movies. I get it.
It's also again shocking. You saw this movie. It is one thing. It's all happened to all of us. You chose a movie. You went in blind. You're like, ooh, this wasn't the right moment for this movie.
Yeah. Oh well. I'm so sorry, but it's such a good movie. Okay, so now we talked a little bit about Daredevil already. Incredibly disappointing. I watched something. I didn't write it down. I didn't write down anything I watched this week because I don't want.
So angry over Lee Cronin's The Mummy.
I don't want to get too into it, Darren. But I watched a movie, and I came out with my eyes a rolling. And it's it's a good movie, but really?
What's the movie? Why specifically at Darren? Is it Irish?
Because it was my first time seeing The Prestige.
Oh,
I can't believe.
Now it's a thing.
Even I'm shocked by that.
And I came out just sighing and going, It was
clever, pretty well constructed, very dramatically and thematically consistent. But what else you got going on there, Chris?
So part of my problem, by the way, this is going to have some this is going to have some very, very deep spoilers for 2006's The
let's
Prestige.
say the statute of limitations is up on this one. I think
statute is all up. I will be talking about the ending of The Prestige. Because I understand the language of cinema, I knew the twists very early on.
Both twists.
Huh?
Both twists.
Oh, yes, both twists. The duplication twist was one of the first shots in the movie.
Yeah, but
but you have it without context.
You have it without
Right,
context,
but-
and the other twist is like to make. Sorry, we'll let you talk, but like, sorry.
Sovereign 46 says, Jack, bad opinion haver, Packer strikes again. You know what? These are just my opinions, and sometimes, yeah, they're bad. This is what you got to deal with.
Sometimes a man has to speak truth to power, Jack.
Yeah.
Sometimes a man has to stand up.
Here's the thing. No, I think, okay, what I will say positively about the movie it is a very nice story about being driven, about how obsession can ruin things. I think that there's some lovely allegories in there, kind of like not seeing the forest for the trees, that sort of stuff. Wonderful allegories in there. That being said, the actual mechanics of the movie, the twists, I figured out so early on, and the entire movie is the prestige. Wait till this twist happens. And it was like, yeah, I fucking knew that already. There was no prestige. There was no reveal for me, because when the characters said it out loud as if that was the big reveal, I was like, yeah, that's stupid. And so then what you have at the end of this is a movie written by the Nolan brothers about two brothers who are just so smart that no one understands how smart they are. And they might not be the greatest showman ever, but man, they know they're the smartest and they're dedicated. And then you have an actor saying, I've killed hundreds of myself for the art. And that's what's worth it, is the looks on the people's faces. Who cares about our families? Who cares that we've murdered our wives because of our obsession? We're right. And it just made me roll my eyes.
Jack, I think that there may be a little bit of irony in the moment where the man who is lying dying on the ground, surrounded by hundreds of corpses of himself, says that it was all worthwhile in the end, as he speaks to a man whose twin brother has just been hanged, apologies, and whose child is going to grow up an orphan. And he says it was all absolutely 110% worthwhile, would do again, 5-star Amazon Yelp review of the experience. I feel like there may be just a thin layer of knowing cynical irony just laced on top of that. As Christian Bale walks away into the night, they start playing "Don't You Forget About Me" as he raises his fist in the air.
No, I think overall it's a very well-made movie. I understand the praise of it, but it made me roll my eyes a little bit.
Boo-Ray wants to know, were you an illusionist man at the time? Because famously, that came out around the same time as Paul Giamatti and Edward Norton's The Illusionist.
I have also not seen The Illusionist.
If you end up liking that more than The Prestige,
It's gonna be great.
wowzers. It's very possible. It's very possible.
He's on the spinning wheel of possibilities.
Yeah.
By the way, it's very possible. By the way, I did like Megalopolis. I still think Megalopolis is a bad movie, and I liked it because it was a bad movie. But I do think there's some wonderful allegories in there. I do think there is some wonderful commentary on kind of being a professional creative and the lengths that some creatives need to go to replicate natural talent. I do think that the Nolans writing themselves into the movie as the natural talent is a little eye-rolly, and I think that's fine.
I mean, they based it on the book, so that was the author of the book.
I also don't think the movie is picking a side in the dichotomy between naturally talented but unable to sell their ideas versus not talented at all but an incredible salesman. The movie is very much about the idea that both of these are bad and you need to figure out how to do both of them without causing your wife to commit suicide. Those are part of me is I suspect that if Nolan sees himself, he sees himself in both of those characters, paradoxically, where he sees himself as the guy who is exceptionally driven to the exclusion of all else, but he also sees himself as the guy who maybe isn't as deep as he appears to be. And the question of which of those two guys do you need to be? Because there's a whole conversation about you have the trick, but the audience didn't gasp because the audience didn't see it because it happened too quickly because he didn't know how to sell it. Like, I think there is, and it's happening at the time where Nolan is between Batman movies, and he's transitioning from being the guy who makes Insomnia and who makes Memento into the guy who makes, like, Inception. And so there is this sense of, like, as an artist, how do you navigate those two? I don't think it's as simple as Christian Bale rules, Hugh Jackman rules, baby. I think they're both pretty terrible again. I think the movie is quite clear that they're both pretty terrible.
He just sees himself as Bowie's
Tesla.
Tesla, yeah. He's like, just give me a cup. Don't bother me. Let me tinker and make my thing, and then you'll have a cool thing after I'm done. Just get fucking Edison out of here. I don't want to deal with him.
I may have accidentally destroyed Blockbuster Cinema with the money you gave me. Don't ask any questions.
I don't know where the hats went. I don't know. I put them in here and they went somewhere, and I don't know where they are.
I'm giving you the Batman franchise, and I make only one request of you. Don't use it. Ever.
Maybe you shouldn't have done the thing in the first place. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Funny,
like, listen, this is how I felt watching it this time. Maybe I'll rewatch it and I'll feel differently.
I love a take like that.
Okay, great.
That's what we come here for, to be surprised. Yeah. It's like we come here like Nicole Kidman to be amazed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else, Jack?
I'm sure I watched other things. I didn't write it down though, so I have forgotten it. So here we go.
Perfect. Darren, what do you got on your big old list?
Not that much. So I guess the big one is Michael, the Michael Jackson biopic, which is it's bad. It's bad. It's really, really bad. You know it's bad, yeah?
Come on.
And the whole world does, in fact, have to answer for this, I'm afraid. Yeah, no, it is obviously the adaptation of the life story of Michael Jackson, produced in collaboration with the Jackson estate. So you know that you're getting all the juicy truth and all the insightful details of this lovable cash cow that they want to continue to extend and use to sell more albums and, you know, more nostalgic tours and all this sort of, and branding and all this sort of stuff. It is a shockingly bad movie, but it's shockingly bad in its emptiness, which is what I find like really fascinating about it in a vaguely depressing way, where again, this will involve slight spoilers for what the movie isn't, I say, which is a very odd thing to have to do spoiler warnings for, but just to explain the context of like what the movie is. During production of this obviously follows Michael Jackson through roughly the first half of his career up until I believe 1988 is when it ends, right? And the original arc of the movie was going to be, you know, the slight spoilers here, they were planning to make it a 2-part movie until there was a recent Wicked underperformed, and then they just kind of dropped, and they're just like, oh, we're just releasing Michael. And now they've already begun floating up like trial balloons and interviews of Antoine Fuqua and John Logan saying, but if the movie gets to like $400 million, which it absolutely will, we might do a Michael Part 2 or whatever. And slight spoiler for the movie, the closing text of the movie is basically Michael will return. His story continues, I think is the exact text that appears on screen. Mm-hmm. The original plan for this movie was for it to go up to 1988 and to cover the early abuse allegations against Jackson. And the plan was, from the family's point of view, which has always been the family's point of view on these things and the line of attack that they have always used, which is incredibly cynical, which is the kids and their families settled with Jackson. And if somebody did that to your kid, would you take a cash settlement? Would you take a $20 million cash settlement from somebody like that? Or would you want to see them punished or exposed? That's always been the Jackson's estate's line on this. Has been this kind of victim blaming of, well, obviously they were in it for the money and you can't trust them. And Jackson had to settle because he wanted to give them money and he's a kind man. And he didn't want to put them through the hell of having to go to court or whatever because he's such a decent human being. But apparently during production, the lawyers either at Lionsgate or Universal discovered that the terms of the settlement, which were very well negotiated by the families of children involved, did not allow the Jackson estate to narrativize the settlement. So it could not be part of any future narrative constructed by the Jackson estate, perhaps suspecting that this is what they would try to do. So, having already written the screenplay, depending on who you ask, having already filmed most of the third act of the movie just does not have that anymore. Their solution to we don't have an ending or a third act to this movie is just to like lob it off with a blade, basically. And when you're watching the movie, you can really feel it because this is a movie without a perspective or a story or a point of view. It is just a collection of things that happen involving Michael Jackson. It is this weird AI kind of nostalgic simulation of Jackson where it's like all of the things that you remember. So we do the don't stop till you get enough video. We do the bad video, there is an incredible moment, a moment where I was the only person in the cinema laughing, but I was laughing very hard, where they're doing Thriller. Now, fans of Michael Jackson's filmography may be aware that Thriller was directed by John Landis. John Landis is a director who also has some troubling associations with children that you maybe don't want to bring into your Michael Jackson biopic. So
yeah, we've ended the Landis biopic right before the Twilight Zone. Don't worry.
we cut off neatly.
He just killed children. So that's not as bad.
A sliding scale of evil. But it is incredible because they shoot John Landis on the set of like Thriller like he's Emperor Palpatine. They shoot him in silhouette, like in profile where you can't see the features, but you can make out the beard and the nose. And Michael does not address the director individually or personally. There's the first AD who comes down and Michael's like, I think that we should have the camera swoop in here, like in a classic Hollywood movie musical. And the first AD is like, yeah, I'll run it by John. And nobody at any point is like, John who? Or why isn't Michael talking to John directly? Because he's right over there. And Michael is really the one calling the shots on the Michael Jackson music video.
But Michael and John Landis were good friends and collaborated often on his music videos. This is something that, yeah.
The movie's like, don't think about that. No questions. Pay no attention to the shadowy bearded John who directed the Thriller video. But like so much of the movie is just things that you recognize where it's like iconic performances that you can view on YouTube. And again, very slight spoilers. I don't even know if this constitutes a spoiler because it is part of the marketing. It is part of the publicity campaign. And it is not actually anything to do with storytelling because the movie does not have a plot. It is very similar to the Super Mario Galaxy movie where it keeps threatening to have a plot, but a plot doesn't actually happen or cohere.
Oh no.
It is very obviously, as the trailers have been hammering, from the team that brought you Bohemian Rhapsody. I believe it's Graham King Productions are producing it. It has Mike Myers as a record executive who doesn't believe in Michael Jackson in much the same way Bohemian Rhapsody had Mike Myers as a record executive who didn't believe in Queen. And the movie ends with a mid to late 80s concert performance of Michael Jackson in the Wembley Arena in London performing Bad, right? Which is exactly the ending of like Bohemian Rhapsody, right? But the thing about the ending of Bohemian Rhapsody is that is Live Aid, right? And that Bohemian Rhapsody, not a good movie. I'm not saying Bohemian Rhapsody is some perfect piece of cinema that is defiled by association with Michael. I'm saying it's a bad movie, but when you run it through the photocopier and the results are faded, it's even worse. Where that ending doesn't work dramatically for Bohemian Rhapsody. It doesn't pay off any character arcs. It doesn't tell you anything about Freddie as a person, but it is spectacle. And it is to Dexter Fletcher, who was the ghost director, and John Ottman, the editor. It is a well-shot, well-edited sequence that does capture some sense of scale. Seeing that in IMAX is an incredible experience. I have my issues with it as like the endless cycle of nostalgia and, you know, simulacra, the recreation of an experience rather than the experience itself. And the fact that like all the Live Aid footage is readily available and easily watchable, rendering the production of this completely unnecessary. But at least it is a big moment in the history of Queen and a big moment in the history of pop culture. So you understand why it is there. And you understand why that is like the dot that they choose to go on. Does anybody remember Michael Jackson's 1998 performance of the Bad Tour at the Wembley Arena in London?
Right.
I think we can all remember where we were that day.
Everybody remembers. And this is where I need to be very clear. I don't know this. I'm putting on my little conspiracy theorist hat here, so please feel free to disregard what I'm about to say. And also the Jackson estate, please don't sue me or Second Wind into non-existence for the observation I'm about to make, which is a simple statement of two facts. First fact is, the documentary Leaving Neverland, which documents two children's accounts of surviving abuse by Michael Jackson, which was produced by HBO, was removed from the HBO streaming service earlier this month as a result of a negotiation with the Jackson estate as part of a non-disparagement clause HBO had signed in 1992 to allow them to air the concert film Michael Jackson Live in Budapest, right? First thing to note about that. Second thing to note about that is, when Leaving Neverland was released in 2019, the Jackson estate's response to that was to try to drown out the publicity by releasing a whole host of high-definition concert films starring Michael Jackson on YouTube to watch for free. What was the first of those concerts to be released for free in high definition on YouTube after leaving Neverland. It was, of course, his performance at Wembley in 1988. And I'm like, that is the most cynical, passive-aggressive ending to your movie, where you are taking the Jackson Estate's YouTube snipe at the child sexual abuse victims and making it part of the textual narrative of what is likely going to be a $900 million, $1 billion movie.
That is a delightful conspiracy theory, like a terrible and delightful conspiracy theory. Absolutely.
It's so depressing.
Well,
and so epic.
And this is something that you talk about a lot, which is like it's not even nostalgia, it's nostalgia for nostalgia. Whereas like Mike Myers appearing as the record executive in Bohemian Rhapsody is a lovely nostalgic look back at him fighting to get that song in Wayne's World. So then he plays the record executive almost as a tip nod, like it's more for Mike Myers. Doing so in the Michael Jackson movie is a reference to Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a reference to Wayne's World. We are getting further and further away from the plot.
It's a copy of a copy of a copy, which is and it's so disorienting, and it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And there is nothing in this movie that is like revelatory or insightful about like Michael Jackson as a performer. Like, obviously, look, I have my own opinions about Michael Jackson, like having watched the documentaries and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I love the music, and the music is incredible. And like Bohemian Rhapsody, the best part about the movie is that once every 3 minutes they play one of the greatest songs in the history of pop music.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm as cynical as anybody, but when they pull that little lever, I'm a little gerbil running to pick up that tablet. Like,
Listen, Michael Jackson was a performer who often said he, and we fucking loved it. There is no sane world in which a singer says he, and it works. He was a magician. Absolutely magician. Also, by the way, I do see in chat, for those of you... Eric putting up a little Michael Jackson.
That's beautiful.
For those of you who didn't know, in chat, John Landis, whilst directing his segment for the Twilight Zone movie, maybe ran afoul of some work time laws, some children work time laws, some overtime laws, and on his set there was a helicopter crash and some people died, including children.
Yeah, correct. It's a major reason why child labor laws in Hollywood are so strict now. Like when you see modern films and you see children credited as twins, because they now generally cast like twins to play young children, it's to adhere to the rules that were introduced after the Twilight Zone, that children could only work a set number of hours. So having identical twins means you can get twice as much of a given child character. Yeah.
And so when I very flippantly said he murdered children, I'm not saying that he physically murdered.
He manslaughtered them.
He manslaughtered.
I mean, you know the classic Eddie Murphy line, right?
No,
Eddie Murphy, who worked with John Landis on like Trading Places and stuff like that, and it was like he was asked in an interview about like what it was like to work with John Landis, and his response was, Vic Morrow has more chance of working with John Landis again.
Vic Morrow being the actor who did die in that helicopter.
Yes, John Landis, who was having a rough... Eddie Murphy tells a wonderful John Landis story on... was it Coming to America, where he threw Landis a bone because Landis was down on his luck. So for Coming to America, he's like, okay, Landis, I've worked with you before. Come and work on my landmark movie. And Landis got a stick up his ass, and Eddie Murphy had to basically beat his ass a little bit, which is delightful.
Do you want to shout out, by the way, just to say something nice about Michael? It does feature the most erotically charged legal boardroom meetings this side of 50 Shades of Grey, where there is.
When they're given that, I guess that's not a board meeting.
Yeah, that's not a very specific, Marty. Very specific. I qualified that remark exactly as I intended to. But like, there's a moment where he goes in to meet a bunch of lawyers because of course it's a movie about money. It's ultimately all about the Jackson brand more than it's about Jackson himself. But the big conflict of the movie is him standing up to his father and him asserting ownership of the brand. And like, there's a moment where he goes to meet with a bunch of lawyers about firing his dad. And it is, to be honest, the only point in the movie where it feels like the movie has a pulse, but not in the way that it intends, where he's at the meeting and he's like, do you guys understand? And out of nowhere, you hear a voice just go, yeah, I understand. And the camera just pans to reveal a character that you didn't know was in the room. He's got long brown hair. He's wearing a black shirt under his suit because he's a special kind of lawyer. He's got a little, I don't know if he's got an earring in, but he may as well. He's Miles Teller. And he leans forward, grabbing Michael's attention. Get an intense close-up of Michael, his sunglasses lower, his eyes going over the sunglasses to meet the eyes of this Miles Teller character. And Miles Teller's like, I understand. You want to be the biggest star in the world. And Michael's like, you're speaking my language. And it is the only point in the movie where I believe that any characters have any emotional inner life whatsoever. And it is two guys negotiating about how to get rid of one of their dads so they can own this massive multimedia empire. It is something to behold. Also, sorry, I will get off Michael in a moment. There are multiple scenes in which characters are wandering through hospitals, peering through doors, see Michael laying, and I need to stress, a gloved hand on a sick child as a gesture of empathy and compassion, and the camera closes in on the face of these men going, he really is too good for this sinful earth on which we live. It is incredible. And not in a good way. Incredible in the literal meaning of the word incredible.
Yes.
Just cuts to the guys being like, see, he would never hurt a kid.
His hand was always gloved.
His hand was always gloved. It's the OJ defense. Whenever I think of Michael Jackson now, I think of how I learned he died. I was living in San Francisco at the time, and my dad was visiting that summer. And we both had flip phones. We didn't have smartphones, so we had no way of like knowing. And we were getting lunch, late lunch at the In-N-Out at Fisherman's Wharf. In-N-Out, a fast food chain on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. We got to the front of the line, and the cashier said to both of us, Michael died. And we both gave him our condolences. And as we were walking away with the burgers, my dad was like, do you think Michael worked there? And I was like, he had to be. Like, who's Michael?
Like, Michael, the guy who normally serves me, who I've never picked up. I never thought to ask his name.
There's a lot of famous Michaels, so you can't just call him Michael. There's a Michael Jordan. You can't even call him Michael J, because there's another famous Michael J. And it wasn't until hours later, I was like, oh. I think we got back to my apartment. I was like, Michael Jackson died. That's who Michael was. So there you go. Life before smartphones.
Also, Speakeasy is right. You get the double animal style. That's
oh my God. I get a single animal style. I think double is too much meat. TMM.
Wow.
I don't want to get meat sweats in the middle of the afternoon when I'm walking up.
In-N-Out, for those who don't know, is basically like what McDonald's was like when they first started. It is fast food without all the processing. Like they chop potatoes in the back for fresh French fries. They use real meat. They like nothing is like heated up in a microwave. They fry everything to go, and it is incredibly delicious.
I hear it's like the best of the LA chains, right?
I think
it's like renowned.
It's I love it. I love it deeply.
Yeah.
Cool. Darren, what else have you been watching?
I guess I just want to shout out Lee Cronin's The Mummy, which I quite liked. I was quite expecting Jack to come in having seen that and hated it. It is
I prestiged you.
Yeah, you did. It really was. It was a genuine third act twist. Yeah, I was looking at this hand when you should have been looking at this hand.
Bloody act.
to get first of all, to get like it's an imperfect movie. There are problems with it. It is far too long. It is 2 hours and 17 minutes, which is an inexcusable length for a mummy movie. And it is very obvious, like looking at it, what you would cut, where it has like two simultaneous like lore explanation plots happening in the middle, where like at one point Jack Rayner goes to visit budget Russell Crowe in what feels like a very direct fuck you to the Tom Cruise Mummy movie, and another like Cairo investigation into the secret history of the mummy or whatever. And then also like it also feels a little bit like a movie that was kind of screwed by test screenings, where the ending is very CGI heavy, and there is in particular like it has a good ending, then it has a fine ending, then it has a bad ending, and you're like,
oh no!
Just at a certain point, just stop listening to test audience feedback, please. Like, there's a point where you were okay and you would have satisfied most people. But all that said, I actually quite enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was properly gnarly for a mainstream studio horror. I was honestly like really surprised at how gross and disgusting it was. This is Cronin, who's obviously the guy who did like Evil Dead Rise. So he is not afraid to do like proper body horror, like lots of skin being pulled off and nails breaking and teeth snapping and lots of like really disgusting viscera, which I found like very effective and very unsettling, and which I kind of like. in a good horror movie. I feel like there's nothing wrong with being kind of schlocky and gross out and kind of disgusting. I also just kind of liked it thematically because it feels, I mentioned that wave of Irish horror. I would consider Cronin to be part of that. His first movie, Hole in the Ground, is very much part of that as well. But like this fixation Cronin has on like children and families, where this is the story of an American family living in Cairo whose daughter goes missing and then is like recovered 8 years later. But is she the same? Did she come back wrong? Has she been turned into, slight spoiler for the movie The Mummy, has she been turned into a mummy of some kind, perhaps? But it is something that like interests Cronin across his work, where you can trace it from like The Hole in the Ground, through Evil Dead Rise into this movie. And it does feel well observed, and it does feel like it's saying something. It again feels like it's in conversation with stuff we were talking about with Exit 8. This idea of like, what is it like to have a child in a world that is, in the context of this movie specifically, racked by climate change, where like the whole reason that the mummy happens in the movie, a slight spoiler conceptually, is because of climate change. It is directly a climate change horror. But this idea of like, if you're having a child, what does it mean to bring them into the world and to know that you can't protect them and keep them safe all the time? And even more fundamentally than that, what is it like to have this adorable, like 8-year-old baby girl who is just like perfect and an angel in every possible way? And then like 8 years later, she's become a teenager who's like just randomly attacking you and sneaking around the house and like leaving weird stains in places where there shouldn't be stains and saying mean
Classic
things
mummy.
to your,
Vintage mummy right there.
But it's like a really good allegorical horror without being overly heavy-handed about it. Like, there's never a moment where, like, Jack Rayner turns the camera and goes, man, this mummy movie's really like raising a teenager, am I right? But it does manage to tap into that. And again, to give credit where it's due, Cronin, I think, does borrow quite a bit from Ari Aster. There's a very heavy Ari Aster influence on the person I saw it with, was like, there's a lot of Hereditary in here. The way that it's shot reminds me of Eddington, weirdly enough. Like, it looks like the house where they live is like the house from the end of Eddington. But like, there's also a certain sense of like the use of Jack Rayner, who is this Irish actor, lovely guy. I've met him a couple of times, very nice guy. Really interesting because it felt like he was maybe going somewhere and then kind of never really became the guy that he was supposed to be, and now just kind of works with Irish directors, which is great. But like, he was really good in Midsummer as like the worst boyfriend you have ever seen. Mm-hmm. And there's like, The Mummy uses Rayner so well, where it's like, what if, and hear us out here, 8 years later, he's the worst husband you have ever seen. And it's just a really good example of understanding what you have cast an actor to do and understanding what an actor is very good at doing. I had a very good time with it. I will put my hands up and say, it is a bit long. The climax is overly CGI. The actual ending is quite bad. And it is, pretty gnarly and gross. And if you're not into that, and if you have like anxieties about like seeing children being put in peril, it will not be for you. But if you like a good old schlocky horror movie, I had a really good time with it.
I got a genuine question. Why is this movie called Lee Cronin's The Mummy? I do not feel I like Lee Cronin's other movies. I do not feel at this point Lee Cronin is a household name. Is this because not only are there so many mummy movies, but there is literally another mummy movie in production that they had to tell people this movie does not have Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz in it. This is a different mummy movie than the other mummy movie we're making?
Yes, so there's two big avenues of speculation. The first of which is this is a Warner Brothers movie, not a Universal movie. Okay. So it's possible that like Universal own... You can't copyright the idea of a mummy, but you can maybe copyright the title, The Mummy. So therefore, Lee Cronin's The Mummy is a legally distinct title that you can use. But also, it came out during press, and obviously it was a big meme online that like Blumhouse were tweeting every day in the 2 weeks leading up to the movie's release, Brendan Fraser is not in Lee Cronin's The Mummy in all caps. That was, a fun Twitter joke, but it was also, according to like people who were involved in, behind the scenes stuff, an acknowledgement that one of the big issues with test screening the movie, and like the movie, again, speculation about like bad test scores and stuff like that. One of the big issues in test screening, allegedly, is that when a modern audience hears The Mummy, they think Brendan Fraser instinctively. That is not the tone of this movie. This movie has a very different aesthetic, mood, and style. And like one of the big issues that they found with test audiences was trying to set the expectation going in that this is not a Brendan Fraser Mummy movie, particularly with like Universal announcing that they're doing The Mummy 4 with Rachel Weisz and with Brendan Fraser coming down the pipeline. So my gut feeling is that Lee Cronin's The Mummy was their way of saying, look, if Brendan Fraser were in this fucking movie, do you think we'd put Mr. Cronin's name on top? I think Mr. Cronin gets top billing over Brendan Fraser.
But like, at what point do you just not call it The Mummy? Then just call it fucking something else.
Also, we should have to retroactively go back, and now every Mummy movie it's Alex Kurtzman's The Mummy. Every Mummy movie is now the director's Mummy movie.
But part of me is like, and I did kind of want to ask Lee this at the premiere, but like the idea of like, does this mean he's now the John Carpenter thing? Where like accepting that his next movie is not Lee Cronin's The Blank, is that a step down? Does he have to keep fighting for his next movie to be like Lee Cronin's whatever it is?
Yes.
Like, is it like an escalation where he's now on that tier and he can't move back down because that's a step in the wrong direction, and every Lee Cronin movie now has to be Lee Cronin's?
It's just I'm always tough to like. I feel like you need to have been doing this for a very long time before I'm getting to a point where like, you know, you could be a PTA or a Scorsese or Spielberg or someone who's kind of earned the right for their name to be on the movie. I don't even like doing it with like the young like savant auteurs with like an Ari Aster or anything. Like I'm kind of like, just wait a while. Like you might get there, but just keep making the movies, and then we'll start putting your name above the titles.
My impression is, and this is not an official comment, is that it was not anything to do with Lee himself. It was not a decision.
My thought was the same thing. Like that it was a contractual.
Again, he's a nice guy. I've talked to him again. It's an Irish film scene. It's all very small and incestuous. Yeah. He's a lovely guy. He's made a couple of good movies. I do not have the impression of Lee wandering onto the Warner Brothers lot, kicking his feet up on the desk and saying, "You guys want to be in the Lee Cronin business?"
He writes "mummy" and an S and dollar signs.
And the executives scratch their chins, and then above it he writes Lee Cronin's, and they go,
"Oh, I see."
Worth noting, by the way, there's Sam Raimi confirmed his Evil Dead Wrath is the movie he's directing. But like, there's another Evil Dead movie coming beforehand. It's like Evil Dead Burn is due out next year, and Evil Dead Wrath is coming out in 2027, directed by Sam Raimi. And it's like so fascinating because Sam Raimi's like, I'm gonna make the scariest Evil Dead movie that has ever been made, and it's like, wow, way to throw Evil Dead Burn under the bus before it even comes out.
Also, the thing is, the last couple of Evil Dead movies, pretty good. Yeah. Like honestly, all the Evil Dead movies, pretty good in my opinion.
I have my issues with the Fede Alvarez one, but I think as a franchise, it bats pretty high.
Yeah. It's no prestige. What else have you been watching, Darren?
I think that's it. I think I've been watching a bunch of Peter Weir stuff because I think the Black Jacks podcast do that, but I'll wait until I've seen them all. I think that's about me done. He's great.
Peter Weir.
What about you, Marty? What
about me?
Yeah.
The Pit wrapped up last week. Pit season 2.
And people were chill about it.
People were incredibly... My favorite thing about The Pit is if you go online, people are totally normal as they watch this show. It is... All fan bases are weird. All fan bases of anything become weird at a certain size.
But it's just because The Pit is the kind of show that doesn't really exist in the same way anymore. So it's like the medical procedural has been away so long that it's like when it comes back, it's like, that's not how that sort of fandom is supposed to behave.
It is insane. People who watch The Pit, A, as a mystery box show, or B, as these doctors all need to fuck show. Because I'm like, that's not what the show's about. Like, that's just not either of those things what the show's about. It is a snapshot of a single day.
Yeah, it's a day shift. I feel like if they should be fucking, should not be during the day shift.
This is all, it never leaves the hospital unless it goes to like the front ambulance bay, which is still not a great place for that. I really like it. I think the show is, like Darren mentioned, like it's able to tap into something which just felt like we used to get all the time, which was just a consistent, well-made and on-time drama like this. And yes, it's elevated because it's some incredible writing, some great performances, and some especially incredible filmmaking. Just the fact that this is like one giant set like really gives a sense of place and location to this hospital, and I really like it. I like what they very much solidified that Noah Wiley's character is the focus of the show at the time being, which has been the case since the beginning, but I thought kind of the ending moments of the season were pretty beautiful. And I love the fact that come January, season 3 is coming. This isn't like Severance or Pluribus, where I will largely forget what happened in the previous season by the time the next one comes out. Like legitimately, I just will. And I like the fact that I think 3 shows I've watched this year are set to come back next year in The Pit, in Paradise, and in One Piece. So,
and even they're trying that with Invincibles, not the big pitch.
That's right. Yeah. That's because the show's ugly. That's how.
Yeah, I know. Part of me is like, I would be happy to accept like an 18-month schedule if you didn't have to work the animators to death. Like
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be an asshole, but it's obviously not the animators' fault, but it does you for something as for as much money as there is in the Invincible business.
Right? This is exactly what I'm worried about with the Bloodborne movie. Is like even something successful, they do it on the cheap.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I've heard.
It's not even the cheap thing; it's the time thing. It's not like there was the whole big thing where people were like reshading scenes from Invincible, and like you would have like the actual animators be like, "Yeah, we would have loved to have done that, but it was me and 2 people, and we had a week to do it." So I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess the time is the money, right? Like,
yeah, that's fair.
And it doesn't seem like they have either of them.
What I've heard about The Pit, I've heard a complaint about The Pit that didn't like, and I've not watched any of The Pit.
Sure.
But the complaint that I have heard about it is that it's competency porn.
It is competency porn, which to me isn't a complaint. I think that's one of the reasons, like, what's his name on Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad? Mike is such a great character because it's like he's just really good. You call him up and he comes and he fixes things. And
that's what I want to
show me a montage of Mike doing shit. Yeah.
I want to watch people doing the things they do well.
Disassemble a car in 10 minutes.
No, and it feels like my mom watches the show and she says like it's of the hospital shows, which doesn't have a ton of competition. It's far and away the most accurate, like the most like what they show. It had a birth last season. I think that was just, I was like, I think that's a real baby coming out of a real vagina right there. I don't think it was, but it was the closest thing to it. Yeah, I like The Pit. I feel like competency porn and can handle some blood. Check out The Pit.
And I miss competency. Again, we talk about Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like this is the modern equivalent of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's like people who are good at their jobs in a professional setting, doing what they're doing. And
absolutely. The other thing, I ended up just kind of putting it on last night, partly because I had been meaning to watch it, rewatch it for the first time in a while, and partly that news came out about Tim Cook stepping down from Apple and being a new CEO starting later this year. And so I rewatched Steve Jobs, the Danny Boyle, Michael Fassbender movie, which I still fucking love. And I think it's almost if you talk about how like kind of one note and formulaic a biopic like a Michael or a Bohemian Rhapsody, the whole what is it with Dewey Cox, the whole like he needs to think about the most important moment of his life before he goes on.
They unironically do that with Michael Jackson in Wembley in 1988, to be clear. Like
which I'm surprised because they did that in Bohemian too.
Sorry.
But Steve Jobs takes 3 moments in Steve Jobs' life. It's like the moments right prior to the reveal of 3 major products. I think it's the Macintosh the first time he's at Apple, and then the Next, which was his company in between Apple, and then the launch of the iMac, which was like the thing that preceded the iPhone and the iPod and everything. But it just feels like 3 like single act plays, right? Like 3 45-minute plays with incredible actors with that this is an Aaron Sorkin script, right?
Yeah.
But like Aaron Sorkin movies, better if he's not the one directing them. The Social Reckoning coming soon, I guess, which I'm very worried about.
Premiered at CinemaCon. Apparently, Jeremy Strong is going to break the internet, hopefully literally.
Because he's playing Zuckerberg, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what the hell? But yeah, I love this movie. Jack, have you ever seen Steve Jobs?
No, and I still, even though I have not used an Apple computer for quite a long time, I still watch like Apple's like worldwide developer conference events. I'm still like an Apple cult head at heart. Yeah. So, but in general, generally speaking, I don't care for biopics because of all of the negative things you're saying about things like Bohemian Rhapsody and Michael's. Like that's why I dislike them, with a few notable exceptions.
Yeah, I think this one's able to avoid a lot of those trappings. Darren, what do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I think it's incredible. I think it's like one of my favorite biopics of all time, and it's a really interesting companion piece to something like The Social Network, where The Social Network is, I think, a better film, but this is just a really interesting synthesis of director and writer, where there is that Sorkin thing where characters are having multiple conversations at the same time about different things. I think last week there was a question of like, when did a director go God mode? And I was like, the scene in the corridor with the chairs where Jeff Daniels is yelling at Michael Fassbender. But like, I watched that scene on repeat repeatedly, and it is three conversations taking place at once where these two guys are talking past each other about things that they are not actually talking about, but the subtext is being laid clear. And it is a Sorkin script, but the way that Boyle films it and edits it like really literalizes the underlying idea and tension of it. There are several points in that conversation, which is a nested series of flashbacks, where Jeff Daniels will say something in the present and Fassbender will react to it in the past. Mm-hmm. So Fassbender will say something like, "Oh, it's over, it's ancient history," and you just cut to like a flashback of like Fassbender on the floor arranging his paperwork, and Daniels in the echoey, reverby hall in the future saying, "Is it though?" And Fassbender will look up from the paper in the past. And it's just a really good, really clever bit of visual storytelling, which is just like, no, they are still having the same conversations that they were 20 years ago. And how do you dramatize that through the medium of film? I do also think it is, slight spoiler, I may be working on the next backdrop video. Steve Jobs may end up being a significant part of that. It may end up having something to do with a movie that I went on a long extended rant about earlier this episode.
Ooh, interesting.
It is a really interesting biopic in its understanding of Jobs, and I think it does a really interesting thing of blending. It feels a little bit like the prototype of like what I think Aaron von Segert, as a commenter, has described as the biopic, which is the idea of the product-centric biopic, the origin story of like the Apple Air or the Tetris video game or the Beanie Baby craze or
Hot
Pinball
Cheetos,
or Barbie, Flamin' Hot, etc., where we've just been inundated with these, like, we used to make biopics about Lincoln and Gandhi. Get off the fucking stage!
But what about Pop-Tarts?
What about Pop-Tarts? Yeah. Don't you want to know the origin story of Pop-Tarts? And the Steve Jobs movie is really interesting because it, to me, feels like a pivot point in that, where it is about Jobs, but like the great innovation of Sorkin's script is his ability to relate the psychology of the character to the psychology of the product that he creates, where the central thesis statement of Steve Jobs, which is, I think, very well observed, very clever, and very well made in the context of the movie, is the idea that, like, the reason why Apple computers do not interface with any other system on the planet or entirely closed systems is because that was how Steve Jobs' mind worked. That is how this man interacted with the world and the people around him. And the paradox of him as a father while refusing to be a father, and him as a creator while embracing the idea of a creator. And the idea of, there's a really great line from Seth Rogen where it's like, the things you make are not supposed to have your flaws. And it is, to get back to a point that we were making about Exit 8 and a point we were making about other movies. It is like a movie about parenting and a movie about being a parent. And I think it's very clever and it's incredibly well made. The performances are fantastic. Fassbender, I think, is incredible. Fassbender is, I think, a hugely underrated actor. Daniels is stunning. I think, was this before Newsroom? I think this is the point where Sorkin was like, this is the guy. I'm going to tie myself to him for another 3 years.
Yeah, it was really close to it because I had just rewatched The Newsroom probably like a year or two ago, and he looked the exact same age, like wearing the exact same suit. He could have been the same character. Yeah.
Like, and is it like, was it Sorkin describes him as like tap dancing across dialogue, where like, I still think of like Jeff Daniels' delivery of like Aaron Sorkin lines, where it's like, I left my bags on the plane. My shit's still somewhere in Beijing. I had to take a cab back to Cupertino in the middle of the fucking night. And it's just like, it is a very banal line. It's a fairly straightforward, but the way that Daniels uses it and kind of taps the rhythms of it and bounces off it just lodges in my brain in a way that is like the perfect synthesis of writer and actor. I think it's a really great movie. Really, really good movie.
Good stuff.
Beautiful.
Those big things. I've been watching. Let's go over the last couple super chats before we wrap up. Boo-ray, thank you so much for the $10 dono. Going back to those Western documentaries by the expat in British. Yep. One of Hall's other documentaries, Inventing the Indian, is about Indigenous representation in Hollywood. It co-stars Dallas Goldtooth, who plays one of the spirit guides in Reservation Dogs. There you go. Fun fact. I have no idea who this guy is. Sounds like he makes good docos, though. Raven with a $2 dono. Thank you so much. Just says Jack. And then hi. Hi. There you go. Easy peasy. Mindule, thank you so much for the $2 dono. Says Milo and Otis. I'm running out of movies. Oh, in terms of animal movies, Milo and Otis is nice. Yeah, it's a great animal movie. What's the worst animal movie?
One of the Garfields, right? Oh no, sure, it's Food Fight. It's Food Fight, right? It's the Charlie Sheen. Oh, you sweet summer child.
No, that's a food movie though.
No, but it's about like Eric. Can we get a poster for Food Fight, please? I need Exhibit A. I feel like I'm Kevin Costner and JFK. Back into the right. Back.
Is this the 2012 animated movie starring Charlie Sheen?
Charlie Sheen. Yes, there we go. Look at that. That is absolutely an animal movie.
You mean Lawrence Kazanov's Food Fight?
You're right. Sorry, to give him the Lee Cronin treatment. Yes.
Also, we're going to be fine. Executive producer on Mortal Kombat 2, so he'll be fine. It'll be great.
Oh no,
it'll be great.
But Carl Urban though, like that's the thing about Mortal Kombat 2. It has the upgrade of Carl Urban, and I'm just like, you are like 20 years too old to be doing this, but I do not care. I am so in.
He was also the executive producer of the Ghoulies 3 Ghoulies Go to College. Do you remember when the Ghoulies went to college?
Unfortunately, I would be the one who would remember, and I don't remember. But also, the worst animal movie is Quigley.
Who's Quigley? What's Quigley all about?
Quigley is Gary Busey is an evil businessman who dies and whose soul gets trapped in a little white dog. And so him as him voicing a little white dog has to like kind of be a kind person in order to get to heaven. His guardian angel is played by Osgood Perkins.
Incredible. William Byron Hillman.
Feel like this is a series of escalations, but surely 9 Lives takes that, where it is Kevin Spacey inside a cat, right? If we're accepting the celebrity inside an animal as the bad genre, surely the worse the celebrity, the worse the movie. I don't know.
Putting together a team.
Gary Busey, though, is entertainingly bad instead of skeevy bad. So
he does not seem like he should be voicing anything.
Anything? Yeah.
Including a Pomeranian named Quigley. The dog looks cute.
Oh, it's like is it the dog's purpose, a dog's tale, a dog's life? Those like there was a while about like 5 years ago, I think it called the New Good Boy Canon, where there was like this fad of movies that were like weird pseudo-religious movies about dogs and reincarnations. It was very weird that it's like those were the two forces aligned. Where like you had the Call of the Wild starring Harrison Ford, which is like 12 Years a Slave, but with a dog, which is a very strange choice. There's a dog's purpose where Dennis Quaid in like some of the worst old age makeup I've ever seen, the highest waistline I have ever seen on an actor, because they want to convey that he's old. He stares down the barrel of the camera and his most convincing old man voice says, "There's a lot you don't know about that dog."
And that was the same year as The Substance, right?
He just like, is this the one where I eat a bunch of shrimp?
Yeah.
I'll start eating shrimp. Just tell me. I brought my own shrimp.
Why have I brought this box of shrimp? I should have put this. It's very hot in Georgia where we're filming.
Warm.
It's the Art of Racing in the Rain, which is the one where Kevin Costner is the dog. But like that features a scene where it's Martin Donovan, I believe, is being an asshole to the dog and an asshole to the dog's owner. I think he's like the father-in-law to Milo Vilimente, who owns the dog or whatever. And Kevin Costner gets revenge by shitting on Martin Donovan's rug, which leads to an incredible mental image in my mind of Kevin Costner in the sound booth going, And it's like, no, Kevin, a little more effort. We want to feel like it's a little, like you're really digging in there. It's like,
Kevin's method. He's like, give me the mic. He took it into the bathroom with him.
No. He shit right on the rug. He's like, if the dog's shitting on the rug, I'm shitting on the rug.
I tangentially related to Kevin Costner. I came upon a YouTube video that's like GoPro footage of stuntmen during the Waterworld stage show and how they swim out of the tank unseen after the characters die. It was great.
Yeah, it's great.
That's one of the great shows. Like again, it's great. Yeah, like it's the legacy of Waterworld. Remember just the streaming boom where we were going to have a Waterworld TV show? Remember how that almost happened?
I do. I'm still upset.
Your Waterworld merchandise could have went up in value, Jack.
Darren, they literally stole Willow from me. At least the Waterworld TV show never existed for them to take back. They took back my Willow TV show.
Oh my God.
Which, to be fair,
I just thought about it.
Wasn't good, but I still watched it. That doesn't mean
there's a Willow.
Can we have Waterworld Week where we watch Waterworld, we play the Waterworld game?
Oh,
we stay hydrated. Waterworld Week.
You know I'm down.
Who has also starts with a W by drinking their own piss is the question.
Oh, I'll absolutely drink my own piss. It's clean. Okay. The Mariner told me about it.
Here's the thing. I am one of 5 people who own all of the Waterworld comic books.
I think put it on a list. Put it on our list of never green features.
Slow week.
Yeah. No, it's never green. It means we're never going to do it, but we like the idea enough to where we want the idea to be remembered.
I don't know if there was a Waterworld video game.
There was
Thanksgiving.
For Super Nintendo. There was a Waterworld game.
Really? Oh my God.
Oh, I might have been thinking of Cutthroat Island. No, it was for Virtual Boy.
Shut up!
Oh no, it was also for Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo, Genesis, Virtual Boy, DOS, Windows, and Game Boy.
Oh my God.
There's several games. We can get a Jaguar. It's very exciting.
I have a Super Nintendo.
I got
and it looks like a great game from what Eric is showing us. It looks
Virtual Boy, baby.
Yeah,
that's the Virtual Boy one. The Super Nintendo one looks kind of like a Contra ripoff.
Yeah,
yeah. We can do this.
All right, so Water Week, baby.
Water Week. We can just talk about other water-based things like the Abyss. That has some cool water in it.
People should just not make movies on water, is what I've discovered.
It seems like it's a bad idea anytime they do it. Double the fingers, thank you so much with a €5 dono. Listen, in our current reality and with our current leadership, can't we just enjoy people being competent in our fiction, please?
Yes.
I don't know anything about the pit, but I saw that complaint and I was like, what is the complaint here? I love it when people are good at their jobs and I get to watch them be good at their jobs.
And we also like to hope that when we go to a hospital, those people are very good at their jobs. Right? I can handle a restaurant not being good at your job, but please, if I'm in surgery, be good at your job.
Yeah.
And again, to shout out, not to rain on the "we are totally fun" argument people who are totally fun always explicitly make, but compare it to something like, say, Project Hail Mary, where that is a movie about saving the planet, and that should be competence porn because it's a scientist and a teacher and stuff like that. It's I would much rather have the competence porn of The Pit, where it's these are people who are working a very tough job in a very tough situation, who have to make tough choices in the moment and are doing the best that they can using the skills that they have and are demonstrating it with a real understanding of the stakes. Yeah. That is the competency porn that I like. Yeah. I find that much more satisfying to me than the escapism of, and I do love Rocky rules, but of the Ryan Gosling found a rock band in space and he's having a great time. I'm like, that's great. But as somebody who's probably on Earth slowly dying, I feel like he could be taking this a bit more seriously.
I like a character who has motivation and drive. I think sometimes they have that hero refuses the call thing go on just a little too long. We all know the tropes. Move on.
But the great thing about The Pit is that it starts in a work shift, so they're already there.
Hell yes.
And,
to the chase.
CSI Freak with $5 dono. Thank you so much. Talking about animal films, any thought on the upcoming The Sheep Detectives?
Seeing it on Sunday, quite excited for it. This is the Hugh Jackman is murdered and his flock of sheep have to solve the murder mystery. It's really interesting. It's a cozy murder mystery, which is being sold as a family film, which is a really interesting blend. Because if it works, it will get old people who like cozy mysteries and kids who like talking animals, and will just be in the perfect sweet spot. my expectations for this are that it will be charming. Like I have a low ceiling, high floor on this, where I reckon I will be amused by this, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm seeing it on Sunday.
I mean,
which
a
is
real fascinating. Craig Mazin wrote it.
Yeah,
of The Last of Us and
Chernobyl. And The Last of
I didn't know this movie existed, let alone was live action. Also, the sheep are voiced by incredibly famous people. I'm assuming because all these names. Yeah,
because you could just record them in a booth separately, and in their own time. But it's Emma Thompson, I think, is the head sheep, right?
It seems like it is a sheep. Yeah.
Okay.
Bryan Cranston. Speaking of Julia Louis-Dreyfus,
the goat. Yeah,
the goat, the goat. Excellent. And then Boo-Ray, thank you so much for the $5 dono. Going back to Westerns. Not sure if this was for Westerns, if this was said for Westerns, but Open Range and Silverado. I like Open Range. That's like a mid-era Costner, like before his Yellowstones, but after his,
that
after
was the last
Dance
film
with
he
the
made
Wolves.
before making A Quarter of a Horizon, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah. With Robert Duvall, I believe. And I don't think I've ever seen Silverado, actually.
Silverado's in the 80s. I remember it being quite a good one. Open Range, I like so much because it's a weirdly gentle Western.
Yeah.
It's a proper like old man turn on the TV at 4 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon and just settle into the couch because you're gonna watch this movie, which I like a lot.
Sometimes we just need those kinds of movies.
Yeah, I love it so much.
Awesome. We have reached the end of the pod. Look at that, in record time, under 3 hours.
That is not record time.
Jack, what do you have going on?
Record time for Darren being on the pod. Yeah,
This is record time in that I didn't have a hard out. Normally, we would hastily end the podcast 14 minutes ago. But what should people be aware of? I am not streaming this Thursday because Second Wind is doing our very first games showcase.
Hell yeah.
I have not been working hard on it at all, but several people have. Nick and Omar and Javed have been putting together this amazing game showcase. So I just get to watch it and enjoy it along with all of you and see all these fun new indie games come out. So I'm not streaming on Thursday. I will be back next Tuesday. Jenna and I will be continuing our co-op Elden Ring run we'll just say in preparation for the movie.
Yeah, sure.
Because why not?
You'll be like 50% of the way there by the time the movie comes out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, especially if it's 2 hours every other week.
Right.
And then especially, I think we've already made the announcement on Thursday, Adventures Night fans should look out during the showcase and then afterwards for for news on season 5.
That's right. We will have a trailer playing during the game showcase. That trailer will be just uploaded separately and with the announcement date for when we are releasing episodes of Adventure is Nigh. The episodes are done. There are 3 full episodes just done. I do that because I want them to be released, and obviously we're releasing them on a schedule. I know they're done. They're just waiting to be released, which is great.
Jack, are they in Infinity Vision?
You didn't think about that. You didn't put them in Infinity Vision.
Yeah,
no one's gonna want to watch them.
We need we need some sort of bullshit term. They're in Mage Vision. Magivision.
It's a major release, yes.
It's a major release, yes. All episodes of Adventures Night will be released in Magivision, which means all the episodes contain some sort of magic.
They do. I think spoilers. They might all contain some
they
sort
might
of magic.
indeed. Yeah.
Shocking for that. And to folks asking, the showcase is going to be at 3 p.m. Central on Thursday, so pretty much 2 days from this moment right now. And obviously, it'll be available as a VOD to watch afterwards, and the same thing with any Adventures Night announcements. So tune in for that. Darren, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you can check out the Backdrop, which had a new episode released today, which was looking at Exit 8 and Liminal Horror. A lot of the stuff we talked about in our conversation about the movie, some broader stuff about cultural trends and understanding the movie in the context of the wave of other movies and TV shows that are dealing with similar things and why that's percolating the consciousness. And I do love, as has been pointed out in the comments, I begin that episode by being, we've talked about some pretty dark stuff on the Backdrop recently, what with AI and cultural fracking and endless sequels. This week, we're going to talk about something happy, liminal horror. But broadly speaking, I think it is actually a fairly upbeat episode because it's an episode about like the idea of we're making movies that are speaking to a younger generation, kind of the opposite of that thing we talked about with like Your Friends and Neighbors, which is this idea of we're now making media that is aimed at people who are younger than me and have a different experience of the world than I do, and just instead of handing them like my leftover recycle media, we are giving them something that speaks to them. And I think I found that really interesting, and that was kind of a fun thing to unpack. It also has a very silly gimmick in it that I am incredibly and irrationally proud of. So please feel free to check that out. And maybe there might be a bonus episode next week, depending on how quickly I can edit what I'm working on right now. But we'll see about that. And obviously then columns at the weekend every Friday and every Monday. So I talked last week about the Cronin's The Mummy, which I think we are contractually obligated to call it. And I talked about DTF St. Louis, which I actually had a good time watching and thought was very charming. Disarmingly charming.
You said earlier when you mentioned that Steve Jobs, there might be something in an upcoming video about that. And then I was hoping that it was going to be in The Mummy to be like, could Steve Jobs have like bioengineered a mummy?
It's just like Steve Jobs versus Mummy.
Yeah. I was like, I'd watch that video because that's a great question. Could Steve Jobs beat a mummy? Yeah. I don't know.
Now, I know my chief complaints were the movie is too long and it's too much CGI at the finale and it has one ending too many. So the obvious solution to that is to just drop in Michael Fassbender's Steve Jobs. That solves all of those problems.
Feels like it fixes it, creates new problems, but solves all those previous ones. So that's great. Awesome. And then normal.
And
streams.
the guy behind Spotify is like, I'm thinking of a Spotify, and then he just picks up some of the like tissue paper, and it's like Spotify Wrapped.
Incredible. It's just the ending of Four Fantastic. Wait, what did you say?
Say it again. Say that again.
Normal streams tomorrow, as Jack mentioned. Streams will be off a little bit on Thursday because of the showcase, but on Saturday at 11 a.m. Central, we are kicking off our final Dokapon stream of this campaign, our Doke or Die, which you guys were so incredible in funding. So Saturday morning, starting 11 Central, noon Eastern, we're going to continue our Dokapon game, and we vow not to stop until we finish. And what happens if we don't finish? It's going to be like they shoot horses here, don't they?
Is that you don't like stop. Don't stop till you get enough.
Don't stop. Listen, if we learned one thing from Michael, you can't stop till you get enough. What a film. Yeah. Also, R.I.P.
You could also just stop in the middle and then
you could stop in the middle. Yeah. Also, if you're going to tell someone Michael died, say their last name as well. If you're working at a burger place, just seems common courtesy. But that'll do it for us. For Jack and Darren and Eric, this was Marty. This was the Rewind episode number 44. Thank you all so much for watching. Anyone live in YouTube, anyone who donated, incredible members of our Patreon. Thank you so much. You helped keep the lights on around here. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.